Chapter 188. There were a total of 6 similar stone platforms, and there was quite a bit of greasewood on them. Song Qiao placed a pile of greasewood on each platform and reignited the fire. The surroundings became brightly lit. Lei Xingfeng looked at the large open space. There were still many puddles on the ground, and he was completely dumbfounded. The heather gravel is here? Senior Song, can you dig a bit for me to see? He couldn't see any signs at all. All right, I'll demonstrate, Song Qiao said. As he spoke, he hovered half a foot above the ground and circled around the muddy ground. After inspecting it back and forth, he took out a huge steel shovel and aimed it at a piece of muddy ground. With a shovel, a large piece of mud was dug out. Then he flew to the side of the stone platform and began to examine the black mud. After a while, he found a heather gravel in the mud. It was only the size of a thumb and was dark red in color. Song Yao had only found one in a shovel of mud. He said, "There are heather gravels everywhere, but you might not be able to find them when you dig. Most of the soil is empty." I was lucky this time and found a heather gravel. Lei Xingfeng took the gravel. "It's soft?" he asked in surprise. "Yes," Song Qiao said. "It'll be as hard as iron when the wind blows." "How about it? Can you find it quickly?" Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly and shook his head. "I don't think so. Let me try." Song Qiao took out a few steel shovels and handed them to everyone. "Then let's try our luck. This is a pretty good material. If we can collect more, we can exchange it for rings." His words immediately piqued everyone's interest. Xian Feng was still observing. As this was the first time he came into contact with minerals in the mud, he didn't know how to search for them. Slowly, he got used to the light here. As the only light here was the flame on the stone platform, the light wasn't stable and affected his observation. Squinting his eyes, Xian Feng stared at the ground, slowly noticing some changes. He could indeed see the red glow coming from the ground, but due to the red glow from the bonfire, if he didn't look carefully, he wouldn't be able to notice it. With a shovel, Xian Feng dug out a large pile of dirt. He brought this shovel of dirt to the side of the stone platform. There were a total of 2 pieces of heather gravel. The others shoveled one after the other. Not even a shadow of the heather gravel could be seen. Song Qiao had been paying attention to Lei Xingfeng. When he saw the first shovel, he immediately followed. When he saw the 2 heather gravels, he couldn't help but sigh. "Your luck is out of this world. You found on your first shovel." Lei Xingfeng laughed and started digging again. In just half a day, other than Xian Feng, who found a few dozen heather gravel, Song Yao only found 7, and the others didn't even have that many. The worst was Feng Ying, who only found 1 heather gravel after half a day, causing him to feel depressed. Song Qiao smiled bitterly. He thought Lei Xingfeng could give him some pointers, but he understood that even Lei Xingfeng only found a little more than the others. "Feng," he asked, "is it hard to dig here?" Xian Feng nodded. "And I'm still thinking of ways to find a large area of ores, but this place has already been excavated. It's hard to find much heather gravel. We're only excavating ores left behind by others. The amount is too little. There are even stone platforms here. One could imagine how many people had dug here. Why don't we look around?" Song Qiao asked. In fact, he wasn't confident. Countless people had already searched this area. Lei Xingfeng thought for a moment and said, "That's a good idea. Too much has been dug up here. There are only a few heather gravels left. No matter how hard we try, we won't be able to find much. It's a waste of time and energy. It's not worth it." Song Qiao also admitted this point. The reason why he brought Xian Feng and the others here was because of Xian Feng's shocking performance in the Dalasha mining area, actually finding a new vein of ore, allowing them to earn a large sum. Xian Feng brought Jin Daya with him, the 2 of them holding torches as they wandered around, trying to find new heather gravel mines. After a big circle, they found a lot of heather gravels. However, there weren't many of them, only a few dozen. Lei Xingfeng and Jin Daya dug them up and found a few hundred heather gravels. Song Qiao waited until Lei Xingfeng came back and asked, "How was it? Did you find anything?" Lei Xingfeng shook his head. "No, only a few small mines. We found a little bit of heather gravels. It's too little." Song Qiao sighed. Forget it. If that's the case, let's dig up as much as we can. It's rare for us to come here. Even if we don't dig up much, at least we have some savings. Lei Xingfeng said, let's dig with our luck. After a few days of hard work, everyone was dispirited. They didn't have much to gain, so naturally, they didn't have much energy left. Lei Xingfeng didn't dig with the others. Instead, he took Jean Dia to wander around. The two of them found a lot of heather gravels. Even the smallest mines had dozens of heather gravels. If they found a bigger mine, it wouldn't be surprising to find a few hundred. The two of them hoarded bit by bit. By the time everyone was ready to leave, he and Jean Dia had collected a few thousand heather gravels. Lei Xingfeng sighed. It's too little. If it was a normal mine, we could get at least 10,000, maybe even 100,000. I don't even know what we can do with a few thousand. Jean Dia laughed. Don't complain. You should know that Old Eagle and Old Tiger didn't even dig up 100. We've already got so much more than them. Lei Xingfeng said, I understand now. This mine is a waste mine. It's not worth digging. Jean Dia said, waste mine? The problem is that you can't even find a waste mine. If Senior Song didn't bring us here, we wouldn't even be able to find a waste mine, let alone harvest it. This amount of heather gravels can be exchanged for a lot of rings. He was quite satisfied. Lei Xingfeng said, I still don't know what use heather gravels have. Jean Dia said, it's nothing. Just keep it. You know it's good stuff, so don't use it carelessly. When you need it, you can save a lot of time and energy. Lei Xingfeng thought of the bone he collected in the past. It turned out to be the most suitable material for refining Leiyin. When he first got it, he didn't know what use it had, so he was very optimistic about the prospects of hoarding materials. Even if he didn't know what use it had, he would store it in his hidden Luin space. Luckily, he had the hidden Luin space. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to hoard materials. After coming to this world, the thing that surprised and satisfied him the most was the hidden Luin space. With it hit home, the two of them returned, laughing. Song Yao still didn't give up. He said, a phone. Did you find anything? Lei Xingfeng shook his head. This is definitely a waste mine. No one will come here. There are no veins around, only a few tiny spots. It's not worth much. Song Yao sighed again. He said, I was too greedy. All right, let's go back. Xian Zhaoluan smiled. The harvest is already good enough. I didn't expect to collect so many Lahu ores. Just this one mine, everything is worth it. It was very convenient to go back. There was no need to travel through mountains and rivers, especially in the ice cave plains. At this time, there was no way to go up. There was definitely a violent snowstorm above, and it was impossible to fly. Then, who would dare to walk on the ice covered with ice caves? But with Song Yao's secret door, they just had to open it. And the destination of the secret door was Xian Zhaoluan's courtyard. A few minutes later, they returned to Hanya Castle. There weren't many people in Hanya Castle. Most of the outsiders had left. This was the best time to go to many places in Hanya Castle. Song Yao walked out of the secret door. He suddenly thought of something and said, a phone. Where did you guys dig up the purple crystals? Lei Xingfeng smiled. We didn't dig them up. We fished them out of the magma. Song Yao said, Bayasi? Oh, I understand. You guys went deep into the ground, right? Can you give me the address? Lei Xingfeng looked at Xian Zhaoluan. This mine was brought by Xian Zhaoluan, so he couldn't make the decision. Xian Zhaoluan didn't mind. He collected enough materials this time. Plus, Song Yao was a monarch. He didn't dare to offend him. Plus, Song Yao brought them to 3 mines. He could not tell Song Yao the location. Song Yao got the exact location. He said, I owe you one. Yes, 2. I can help you twice in the future. Xian Zhaoluan felt that it was worth it. Monarchs might do whatever they want, but monarchs' promises were very powerful. They rarely went back on their promises. Once they promised something, they would do their best to fulfill it. Plus, monarch's strength was the guarantee of this kind of promise. Song Yao got the address and left. But before he left, he pulled Lei Xingfeng into a room and whispered for a long time. After Song Yao left, Xian Zhaoluan smiled. A phone, what did Senior Song say? Lei Xingfeng smiled. Senior Song, and I made an appointment to go to another place to dig. But my strength is low. When I reach 8th ring, he will come find me. Everyone's eyes were filled with envy. This was a monarch bringing him to find resources, not to mention other things. Just how many materials could he gather? Plus, he didn't have to waste time looking for or veins. He just had to follow. Xian Zhaolun smiled. If Senior takes you there, call me. Lei Xingfeng agreed. He also wanted to help Xian Zhaolun. After all, he was his senior brother. He could help him a lot. Xian Zhaolun said, "We got a lot this time. When the time is up, we will go back. During this time, everyone should cultivate. The effect of cultivating here is excellent. Don't waste it." Chapter 189. Lei Xingfeng nodded in agreement. Even when he was mining, he didn't stop cultivating. He could feel his cultivation growing rapidly. Of course, there was still a difference between this and cultivating in a thunderstorm. There was a benefit to cultivating here that Lei Xingfeng attached great importance to. It was different from cultivating in a thunderstorm, where his cultivation would advance by leaps and bounds, while his Yin force would be very violent. Cultivating here would be very gentle, and it would be beneficial for him to adjust his Yin force. After returning to his room, Lei Xingfeng rested for a bit and then began to cultivate. With Lei Yin, Lei Xingfeng found that cultivating had become easier than before. When his Yin force passed through Lei Yin, there would be a slight difference, as if it had been purified. The chaos wheel and Lei Yin would interact with each other. The chaos wheel would swallow a portion of Yin force. Although it would only swallow a small amount each time, the entire chaos wheel would change little by little. This change was something that Lei Xingfeng couldn't control for now. He would need time to understand it bit by bit. Lei Xingfeng currently had two treasures. One was Lei Yin, and the other was the chaos wheel. Lei Yin could ensure that he would advance smoothly, and the chaos wheel was his only offensive weapon. It was a very rare attribute weapon that could grow together with him. As he cultivated, Lei Xingfeng was surprised to find that the chaos wheel was transmitting information to him. It's actually just a half-finished product. Once I reach Monarch, I can still use the chaos wheel. Lei Xingfeng was greatly surprised. Of course, if he wanted to use the chaos wheel after reaching Monarch, he would need to add a lot of materials to refine it and cultivate at the same time. It was a very strange attribute weapon. He vaguely felt that he had obtained an amazing treasure. As for how amazing it was, he would need time to test it out. He slowly received the information from the chaos wheel. This information wasn't written, but a very strange feeling. There were also images that occasionally flashed in his mind. Because he had only cultivated for a short time, he couldn't completely understand it. At this time, Lei Xingfeng discovered that the chaos wheel could not only be used for attack, but also for defense. It was a very rare offensive and defensive weapon. This was also the first time that Lei Yin had succeeded. Following Lei Xingfeng's advancement, Lei Yin could refine again, which would require all sorts of materials. Actually, Lei Xingfeng didn't know that his current method was similar to that of a true monarch. A true monarch would also need to expend countless materials and energy for all sorts of equipment. In other words, from today onwards, Lei Xingfeng would have to constantly search for all kinds of materials in order to improve the quality of Lei Yin and the chaos wheel. This way, they would be able to improve the quality of Lei Yin and the chaos wheel along with his cultivation. In the future, the task of improving Lei Yin and the chaos wheel would not only be cultivation, but also refining. The time that one could stay in Hanya Castle was usually half a year to a year. During this time, the cultivators that came in would either search for all kinds of ores and materials or stay in Hanya Castle to cultivate. Most of the cultivators chose to search for ores and materials. After all, they were able to come here because of their sect's mission. Only a small number of cultivators had the time to cultivate. Miao Ling didn't step out of her room and cultivated in her room. Her most sensible choice was to bring Sister Hong. Using the opportunity of following Xian Zhaolun, she obtained a lot of high-level ores and materials. These were all good things that could be used to exchange for Yin rings. Lei Xingfeng's harvest was even greater. Not only did he obtain the Star Python record made by Lei Yin, he also obtained the Chaos Wheel. He also found a lot of ores and materials. He even discovered a skill that allowed him to quickly find or veins in locations. This was extremely beneficial to his growth. It wasn't obvious yet, but as his strength increased, the places he could go to would increase. This trait would bring him countless benefits. Other than cultivating, Lei Xingfeng basically didn't go out. As he cultivated arduously before he left Hanya Castle, he finally broke through again and reached the level of a 7th ring sage. Lei Yin and the Chaos Wheel also started refining again. The materials were basically exchanged with others. After all, the materials he had were very precious. It was easy to exchange them for some normal materials. 7th ring sage. Lei Xingfeng's strength increased by a lot, especially with Lei Yin and the Chaos Wheel. Although he hadn't tested it yet, he was confident that he could fight against an 8th ring sage. Even if he couldn't win, he definitely wouldn't lose. During this time, Xi Zhouan brought Jean Dia out a few times. After Jean Dia came back, he told Lei Xingfeng that Xi Zhouan had exchanged a lot of materials. He even found Song Yao and exchanged some materials for secret door refining. Lei Xingfeng didn't mind. He wholeheartedly immersed himself in cultivation until he broke through. Only then did he stop and wait to return to his sect. After resting for a few days, Xi Zhouan gathered everyone and said, "It's about time. My mission this time is complete. Time is almost up. In another 15 minutes, we will leave here. Everyone pack your things. All right, Chuizi and Kuang Fu are also here to say goodbye. If you come here by yourselves in the future, you can hire them." Chuizi and Kuang Fu hadn't seen them for a while. Their tempers were good, and they got along well with everyone. Lei Xingfeng even left a pile of food for them, which made Chuizi and Kuang Fu very grateful. Hunting here was getting harder and harder, and the natives were becoming more and more dependent on the foreign cultivators. They relied on them to bring in an endless supply of food, so they had to build a good relationship with the cultivators. Chuizi pulled on Lei Xingfeng and looked at him eagerly. Lei Xingfeng felt a chill run down his spine. You probably wouldn't be able to stand being held by a 2-meter-tall native. What was even weirder was that the native was looking at you with a pair of innocent eyes. Lei Xingfeng said, Okay, I will definitely look for you in the future." Chuizi immediately smiled. This guy looked reckless, but in reality, he wasn't. He had already discovered that Lei Xingfeng really did have food, and he was extremely generous. He didn't even blink when he gave out food. He even took out a large pile of food. If he didn't curry favor with this kind of person, who else could he curry favor with? "It's a promise. You must look for me and Kuang Fu." Of course. Okay, let go. Chuizi hurriedly let go and purposely laughed a few times. Then, he went to look for someone else. It was a routine that he was familiar with, but in the end, he hit a wall. It wasn't a big problem to grab anyone's hand, but grabbing Miao Ling's hand was a big problem. He was kicked by Sister Hong. Everyone laughed. Lei Xingfeng said, "Chuizi, don't be in a hurry to catch people. We should also go. Don't worry, I will definitely look for you in the future." Chuizi didn't mind. He had thick skin, and being kicked didn't hurt at all. Plus, Sister Hong only stopped him from grabbing Miao Ling's hand. She didn't want to hurt him. When the secret door suddenly appeared, Lei Xingfeng knew that it was time to leave. Following Xi Zhouan, Lei Xingfeng stepped into the secret door and instantly returned to the secret hidden space. In the room of the founder smiled as he looked at the people coming out of the secret door. He waited until everyone had entered before closing the door. Wu Yang smiled as he looked at everyone and nodded. "Seems like the harvest is not small." The little girl actually advanced to the 6th ring true body. Little brat, I remember you were 5 ring. You have already advanced to 7 ring. Amazing, the higher the rank, the harder it is to advance. You seem to have it easy. Even your 7th ring true body has already stabilized. Good. Ever since Miao Ling arrived at Hanya Castle, she didn't go out at all. She had been hiding in her room and cultivating. From 4 ring true body to 6, Lei Xingfeng was also very powerful, advancing from 5 ring to 7 ring. One must know that the higher the rank, the harder it is to advance. This was something that everyone understood. Lei Xingfeng advanced faster than Miao Ling. Although both of them advanced by 2 rings, The value of their advancement was completely different. Lei Xingfeng smiled. That is indeed a very good place to cultivate, but it was too cold. I almost froze to death. Wu Yang smiled. Extreme cold weather, as long as you are prepared, it is nothing. Lei Xingfeng smiled. It is useless no matter how prepared we are. Someone barged in and almost froze us to death. Luckily, we reacted quickly, otherwise we would be in big trouble. Wu Yang immediately showed a trace of anger. Who is so daring? Xiangeluan said. It is a true monarch. His room was so cold that it cracked. Coincidentally, it was the coldest few days of the extreme cold, so he directly barged into our room. Wu Yang said, True monarch. True monarchs are also divided into different ranks. I think he is just a wandering ghost. Lei Xingfeng was shocked. Ancestor, how did you know? Wu Yang said, I don't need to guess. Only this kind of wandering ghost would have such an awkward moment. What happened next? He revealed a gossipy expression, which made Lei Xingfeng laugh. He didn't expect the ancestor to like gossiping too. Lei Xingfeng said, We became friends after that. He brought us to the underground of the ice cave plains and found 3 mining areas. We dug up many good things, he. Wu Yang said, Oh, what good things? Lei Xingfeng said, Yes, there was 1,000-leaf silver, great Laha crystal, and heather gravel. Unfortunately, heather gravel is already a waste mine, so we didn't dig up much. Wu Yang said, 1,000-leaf silver. You were able to dig up this kind of thing. Do you know what it is used for? Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly and said, I'm not very sure. It should be a material that a true monarch can use. He guessed. Wu Yang said, 1,000-leaf silver is an excellent material. It can be used to refine a type of defensive ring. However, it requires a lot of quantity. To refine a defensive ring, you need at least 200 pieces of 1,000-leaf silver. The more powerful it is. It can only be refined with complete pieces of 1,000-leaf silver. Lei Xingfeng suddenly understood why broken pieces of 1,000-leaf silver were worthless. It turned out that it could only be used with complete pieces. Wu Yang said, Forget about the others. Xiangeluan should be satisfied with the great Laha crystal. This thing is not bad. All right, what else did you find? Lei Xingfeng said, Bluetooth silk, red gold, yes, and purple crystal of the highest quality. Wu Yang said in surprise, Purple crystal of the highest quality. Chapter 190. Lei Xingfeng said, Yes, by chance I found some purple crystals of the highest quality. Haha, I even used them to exchange for some good stuff. Wu Yang said, Quick, let me take a look. Lei Xingfeng took out a piece of the highest quality purple crystal. Among this group of people, he had the most purple crystals. Even if he used them to exchange for things, he still kept most of the purple crystals. Wu Yang examined it carefully and immediately showed a joyful expression. He said, How many more do you have? Do you have 10 pieces of the highest quality purple crystals? Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, Yes, I got quite a lot. Wu Yang smiled and said, Then take them out. Of course, Lei Xingfeng would not hide it. He did not know how powerful this extremely devilish-looking founder was. He could not wait to flatter him. So how could he not give it to him? Without hesitation, he took out 15 pieces of the highest quality purple crystals and said with a smile, 10 pieces should not be enough. I still have a lot. Founder, please keep them. If they're not enough, I will take them out again. Wu Yang could not help but put his hand on his forehead and said, You are really generous. Do you know how precious these things are? I really don't know where you got so many of them. Lei Xingfeng said, I fished them out from the lava. Haha, my luck was good, so I got quite a lot. Wu Yang looked at him deeply and said, Yes, that's enough. You have been gone for so long. You must be tired. Go back and rest. Xiangeluan looked at Lei Xingfeng enviously. He knew in his heart that the founder must have left Lei Xingfeng in his heart. This was really rare. Everyone left, and their respective butlers came to pick them up. Lei Xingfeng's butler also came. His channel said with a smile, I have already asked the car to stop at the door. Young master, please get in and go back. Lei Xingfeng got in the car, and Mad Eagle, Tiger Love, and Jean Dia followed. Jean Dia was shocked. After coming out of the secret door, he saw Wu Yong and knew that he was a big shot. Wu Yong only looked at him, and his whole body felt cold. He knew that this was the pressure brought about by the level. Even if it was just a little bit, it was already unbearable. Ishannel personally led them in front, and they soon arrived at Lei Xingfeng's residence. Lei Xingfeng introduced, Ishannel, this is Jean Dia. He's my guard chief salary, and give him the salary of a guard captain. Ishannel was secretly shocked. A guard captain was considered the top under Lei Xingfeng. He nodded and said, Okay, wait a moment. I will do it. Lei Xingfeng said, Oh right, Uncle Ing and Uncle Tiger have both reached 9th ring, so they will also be treated as guards. Ishannel, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love were very familiar with each other, and hurriedly went up to congratulate them. They knew that the two had been stuck at 8th ring for a long time, and this promotion was definitely a joyous occasion. For guards like them, reaching 9th ring was basically the top. It was impossible for them to continue advancing, but they could enjoy the best treatment in Lei Xingfeng's residence. After returning to his room, Lei Xingfeng fell asleep immediately. This trip was very rewarding, but it was also very tiring. When he returned home, he felt very tired, so he planned to have a good sleep and then eat a full meal. He slept for 3 days and 3 nights. When Lei Xingfeng woke up, his entire mental state was different. He felt refreshed and felt that even if he were to fight against a monarch, he would be able to hold his own. Of course, he knew that this was an illusion. When he came to the dining room, the table was already filled with all kinds of dishes and a big pot of rice. Lei Xingfeng quickly called Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love. They were the 3 closest to him, so of course they had to eat together. Jean Dia smiled and said, I have a distant son who loves good food. The food he cooks is much better than here. Lei Xingfeng said, Okay, can you find him? Bring him me. I also like good food. All right, what is his name? Jean Dia said, Jean Depang. Lei Xingfeng was stunned. He said, What? Jean Depang? Someone from Shirong land? Jean Dia said in surprise. You know him? Lei Xingfeng couldn't help but smile. He said, Of course I know him. When I was a millwool master, he followed us to Stellar Night Fortress. Oh, let him come. Jean Dia said, No problem. I will bring him here. He can't run that far. He already has 1 true ring body. Lei Xingfeng said while eating, You gave him Lun rings, right? Jean Dia nodded. Yes, it was a coincidence. I didn't know there was a junior like him in the family. I ate a meal he cooked, and it left a deep impression on me. So I gave him some Lun rings. With these Lun rings, he was lucky enough to advance to 1 true ring body. Lei Xingfeng thought of the people in Tiger Cliff Castle and wondered if he should bring some people into the hidden dimension. Life here was much better than in Tiger Cliff Castle. Life in Tiger Cliff was too difficult. Jean Dia said, After eating, I will go back. Lei Xingfeng said, I also want to go back. You can come with me. Uncle Ing and Uncle Tiger will come too. He was used to having Mad Eagle and Tiger Love by his side. If they weren't around, he wouldn't be used to it. Mad Eagle and Tiger Love agreed. After all, Lei Xingfeng was the young master. The two wouldn't refuse his orders. After eating, Lei Xingfeng called Ishannel and said, We are going out for a while. We will be back in about a month. Ishannel smiled. No problem. Bringing Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love, the 4 of them left the Lun Point. This was the first time Lei Xingfeng had returned since leaving Tiger Cliff Castle. Mad Eagle asked curiously, Where is this? Lei Xingfeng said, Baijia Village. It is under Hongtong's influence. Tiger Love said, Hongtong? Is it very powerful? Lei Xingfeng shook his head slightly. Previously, Hongtong was a huge force to him. Now it seemed like a small force. Anyone the 4 of them could easily destroy it. Thinking back to when Hong Chun brought his disciple Yin, they almost destroyed the entire Tiger Cliff Castle. Now that he thought about it, they were no longer a threat. The 2 of them couldn't be compared at all. He realized that he had grown to a considerable height. Tiger Love saw Lei Xingfeng shake his head and immediately lost interest. Lei Xingfeng had a glimmer of hope. Maybe you would return to Tiger Cliff Castle. If he did, he wouldn't have to search everywhere. He didn't go to Hong Kong to find him. With Lei Xingfeng's current status, he didn't need to purposely curry favor with him. The four of them left Baijia village and immediately flew up. Lei Xingfeng led the way in front. He was flying towards Tiger Cliff Castle. As expected, not long after, he saw Tiger Cliff Castle's cliffs. When he was living in Tiger Cliff Castle, he always felt that Baijia village was a very distant place. But this time, Lei Xingfeng felt that it was very close. After flying for about 10 minutes, he sighed. When he was sitting on the cliffs of Tiger Cliff Castle, he was filled with fantasies about this world. Lei Xingfeng directly landed at the top of the cliff. There was a very small stone castle there. It was the place to enter and exit Tiger Cliff Castle, and the place where the basket was placed. There were people guarding it all year round. When Lei Xingfeng and the other three landed, the people in the stone castle cried out in surprise. They clearly saw people landing from the sky. Lei Xingfeng recognized the people in the stone castle at a glance. He smiled and said, Uncle Nanshan, why is it your turn to be on duty? His tone was very excited. He finally saw familiar people from his hometown. Uncle Ku and Ku Nanshan were on duty today. The two of them didn't dare to recognize Lei Xingfeng. After all, Lei Xingfeng had been gone for many years. Moreover, Lei Xingfeng had grown up. Whether it was his expression or appearance, he was very different from before. Especially now that Lei Xingfeng was a seventh ring sage, his temperament was completely different from when he was young. Ku Dashin and Ku Nanshan had helped Lei Xingfeng a lot, especially when Elder Thunderstorm was seriously injured. He had to take care of a young sister by himself. It was because of everyone's help that he was able to survive. Therefore, he couldn't forget the people from Tiger Cliff Castle. To be able to come back and see them again, Lei Xingfeng was very excited. Lei Xingfeng saw that the two of them were a little confused and suddenly realized that he had changed a lot. He said, Ku Dashin, Uncle Nanshan, I'm a phone. Ku Dashin had a look of disbelief. He said, a phone? You're a phone. You've changed a lot. A phone, you fell from the sky. Ku Nanshan said, a phone, it's really a phone. Ha, phone is back. He had always been very good to Lei Xingfeng. Seeing Lei Xingfeng, who had left Tiger Cliff Castle for 7 or 8 years, he was very excited. Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, I'm back. Ku Dashin smiled and blew the horn. It was to inform the people of Tiger Cliff Castle that an important guest had arrived. Lei Xingfeng heard the familiar sound of the horn. In an instant, he felt as if he had returned to his childhood, those extremely difficult years. The sound of the horn caused many people to walk out of their houses. They looked at the cliff in disgust. This kind of important guest rarely sounded. Once it was blown, it meant that a very important person had arrived. People formed groups and ran towards the cliff. Most of them were hunters of Tiger Cliff Castle and the chief of Tiger Cliff Castle, Hu Tsangyu. In a short while, someone rushed to the top of the cliff and asked, Who's here? Who's here? Lei Xingfeng saw the person and couldn't help but smile. He said, Uncle Sure, long time no see. I'm a phone. Kusher didn't dare to recognize him at first. It was mainly because Lei Xingfeng had changed too much. But when he saw the happy expressions on Ku Dashin and Ku Nanshan's faces, he immediately understood. This must be Lei Xingfeng. Back in the day, Ku Dashin, Ku Nanshan, himself, and Lei Xingfeng were part of a hunting group. A phone, you're back. How have you been these years? Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, Yes, I've been very good. Uncle Sure, how have you been? Kusher nodded and said, I've been very good. I've been very good. At this time, more and more people came up. Lei Xingfeng saw more and more familiar faces. For example, Hu Daniu, Whitehead Hu Xiao Hu, Kudao, Hu Yi, Hu San, Kazijong, and other hunters. He even saw the white-haired chief, Hu Tsangyu. Chapter 191. Tiger Cliff Castle didn't have many visitors throughout the year. It was a very remote place, so Lei Xingfeng's return was a big deal. Everyone knew that Lei Xingfeng was a practitioner, which was the glory of Tiger Cliff Castle. A group of people escorted Lei Xingfeng back to his original courtyard. Lei Xingfeng already knew that Yi didn't come back. He was very disappointed, but after thinking about it, he understood that he probably wouldn't come back. Once he recovered his power, there was no point in coming back. Song Yu said, "A phone. After you left, we've been helping to tidy up your house. Haha, take a look yourself. If you're missing anything, let me know. We'll all help." A phone. How long do you plan to stay? He knew that Lei Xingfeng wouldn't stay in Tiger Cliff Castle, but he hoped that Lei Xingfeng would come back often. Lei Xingfeng laughed. "Old man, I just came back to visit. I'll stay for a few days and then leave." Song Yu said, "Is that so? It's hunting season now. Too bad you can't stay longer." Lei Xingfeng said, "Hunting season is here? All right, I'll stay for a few more days. Uncle Ke, this time I'll be in a team with you. How about it? All right, there are 4 of us here." Uncle Ke laughed and said, "That's the best. You used to be able to bring all the hunters in the castle. This time you could bring more people, haha." Of course, he knew that Lei Xingfeng was strong, but he didn't know how strong Lei Xingfeng was now. Song Yu's eyes lit up. If Lei Xingfeng was willing to bring all the hunters in Tiger Cliff Castle, then this year's food wouldn't be a problem. Thinking of the bull hunt in the past, he said, Yes. A phone, lead the team. All the hunters will follow. Is that okay?" He looked at Lei Xingfeng expectantly. Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, "Okay, then please tell everyone that tomorrow I'll bring all the hunters in the castle." He also wanted to help the hunters in Tiger Cliff Castle. Song Yu was overjoyed. He said, "That's great. With a phone in the team, this year's hunt will definitely be more. This way, winter will be easier." The hunters' faces were also filled with joy. Xian Feng's fame was rather big. He had commanded large-scale hunts before, so this time, no one doubted his decision. Under Song Yu's command, many hunters brought in large amounts of meat. Kardashian and the others set up a large pot in the courtyard and started cooking. All the famous hunters in Tiger Cliff Castle came to welcome Lei Xingfeng back. They used this as an excuse to treat Lei Xingfeng and the others to a meal. Jin Daya was touched. He said, "The people of Tiger Cliff are very good." Lei Xingfeng nodded. "When I was young, I relied on everyone's help to not starve to death." Mad Eagle and Tiger Love were both surprised. Lei Xingfeng had never talked about his childhood. The residents of Tiger Cliff Castle were very careful when it came to eating. Every family took out meat, dried vegetables, and fresh vegetables. A few large pots cooked together, and in a short time, the whole courtyard was filled with a thick fragrance. Many children ran around the courtyard, looking very excited. Lei Xingfeng asked, "Uncle Nanshan, did you prepare enough food for last winter?" Nanshan smiled. "Last year was pretty good. The hunters from Lead Eagle didn't dare to come, so our hunting area became a little bigger. But the barbarians often appeared and injured a few of our hunters. Luckily, they all kept their lives." Lei Xingfeng said, "Could it be that a barbarian tribe moved here?" Kardashian said, "We're worried about that too. If a barbarian tribe moved here, we might not feel it at first, but after a long time, when the barbarians' descendants grow up, we'll be in trouble. We'll have to invite the experts from Hong Tong to wipe them out. We don't even know how much it'll cost." Song Yu said, "Don't we have foam? I remember back then, the people of Hong Tong promised that everything within 100 li of Tiger Cliff Castle would be ours." Kusher said, "At first, they helped a little, but then they didn't pay much attention. In recent years, there hasn't even been a shadow." Lei Xingfeng knew in his heart that no power would work for free. At first, it was because of Elder Thunderstorm, but when Elder Thunderstorm didn't appear, they didn't pay much attention to Tiger Cliff Castle. Gradually, they stopped paying attention. He smiled. "Flowers don't bloom for 100 days. It's normal. All right, the people from Lead Eagle," Song Yu smiled. "The people from Lead Eagle have all moved away. There's no one living in Lead Eagle anymore." Lei Xingfeng immediately understood. Hong Kong probably pressured Lead Eagle. Luckily, the barbarian gathering continent didn't lack anything but land. Therefore, the people of Lead Eagle didn't lack the wilderness. As long as they invited the Luen masters from Hong Kong, clearing a piece of land would be easy. Song Yu asked, "Do we need to bring people to transport tomorrow?" Lei Xingfeng smiled and shook his head. He had the hidden Luen space, so he didn't need to work hard to bring back prey. He said, "No need. We have our own way of transporting prey. We don't need too many hunters going tomorrow. Let the best hunters go. The rest can prepare at home. We'll need their help when we bring back the prey." Song Yu scratched his head. He didn't understand Exine Feng's words, but he had a lot of experience, so he didn't continue asking. Instead, he said straightforwardly, "Okay, tomorrow I'll prepare a 20-man hunting team. How about that?" Lei Xingfeng nodded. 20 people is enough. He didn't plan to let the hunters go. With him and the 3 guards, there was no need to worry about the prey. After a night of silence, the next morning, 20 hunters came to the door of the courtyard. They were all the most elite hunters of Tiger Cliff Castle. Lei Xingfeng brought Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love out of the courtyard. Looking at Kadashin and the rest of the hunters, he smiled. "Kadashin, you don't need to bring the basket. We have a way to carry the prey." Kadashin and the rest already knew about the magic of practitioners. However, they didn't know how to carry the prey. Since Lei Xingfeng said they didn't need to bring the basket, they simply left the basket in the courtyard and followed Lei Xingfeng with their spears and arrows. Sitting on the hanging basket, Lei Xingfeng and the rest didn't show off. They just sat on the hanging basket and went down. In fact, they could fly. Lei Xingfeng said, "Let's go to the meadow. I want to hunt bulls." He always remembered the taste of bull meat. Unfortunately, after leaving the barbarian gathering continent, he couldn't find any more. This time, he planned to stock up on bull meat. Of course, it couldn't be fresh meat. It had to be marinated and dried to preserve for a long time. In Tiger Cliff Castle, bulls were the top meat. Even the best hunters had a hard time eating them because they were really hard to hunt. Their skin was rough and their meat was thick. They also lived in herds. Without a certain level of skill, no one dared to hunt bulls. In the mountains of the barbarian gathering continent, only the barbarians dared to hunt bulls. Normal hunters were still a bit lacking. This time, Lei Xingfeng wanted to go to a meadow. That was where the bulls lived. Mad Eagle said, "A phone, let me hunt this time." Lei Xingfeng said, "You guys don't have to do it. I'm enough. If you guys do it, I think all the prey will be crushed." One had to know that every part of a bull was a treasure. Other than the meat, the most precious part of a bull was its skin. It was the best material for leather armor. In the mountains, it was even used as currency. It could be exchanged for many things. A complete bull's skin was especially valuable. Mad Eagle laughed. "All right, you have the final say." Lei Xingfeng discussed with Kadashin and the rest. He decided to do it himself. He only told the other hunters to be on guard and sent out scouts. As for Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love, they were the defensive force. They weren't guarding against wild beasts, but barbarians. Once the barbarians were discovered, Lei Xingfeng was prepared to wipe them out completely. This would give Tiger Cliff a good hunting environment. Entering the familiar forest, Lei Xingfeng felt very familiar. Every blade of grass and every tree here was something he had seen since he was young. However, Lei Xingfeng was no longer a child. He had grown into a 7th-ring sage. In this world, he was considered a powerful expert. Lei Xingfeng had many steel spears in his hidden Lun space. Many of them were obtained from Tiger Cliff Castle, while others were bought from other places. Lei Xingfeng took out a steel spear and a black bow. After thinking about it, he put the black bow away. To him, the black bow wasn't very useful. He didn't think its attack power was enough, so he put it away. Soon, the group of hunters arrived at the meadow. They could already see a herd of bulls leisurely grazing on the grass. Lei Xingfeng said, "Uncle Ku, let everyone be on guard in the trees." Kadashin nodded and immediately ordered the hunters to climb up the trees. Lei Xingfeng whispered, "Uncle Jean, Uncle Ing, Uncle Tiger, you guys go up the trees too. Protect them. I'll go in and kill the bulls." Jean Dia stared at the bulls not far away. He was very experienced and said, "These bulls are not bad. They have a huge body. The meat on their bodies can be cut into 1,000 Jean. I'm going up the trees." He jumped up and directly flew up the trees. Mad Eagle and Tiger Love also flew up the trees. The 3 of them tacitly formed a triangle, just enough to protect all the hunters. Lei Xingfeng held his spear and swaggered towards the meadow. Kardashian said in shock. What is a phone trying to do? This is too dangerous. Chapter 192. Kardashian was shocked, but Kananshan was very calm. He said, Don't worry. Let's see what a phone will do. I don't think a phone is a reckless person. The other hunters were also stunned as they looked at Lei Xingfeng. They saw that he didn't even try to dodge. Instead, he swaggered towards the herd of bulls. It must be known that bulls were very sensitive. They had a deep hostility towards any moving object. Even barbarians had to avoid the bull's charge and trample. Hudaniu was on a big tree. He said, Kudao, isn't a phone too careless? If he walks over like this, he won't be attacked by the bulls. Kudao said, I also don't know why a phone is like this. Daniu, we'll know if we keep watching. Just when the hunters were worried, a herd of bulls began to charge towards Lei Xingfeng. This was a herd of 70 to 80 bulls. Among them, there were 20 strong bulls. The rest were calves and cows. Once the herd of bulls charged, the momentum would definitely be very frightening. The rumbling sound of hooves sounded. The hunters on the tree all turned pale as they looked at Lei Xingfeng, who was standing alone. Kardashian grabbed a branch with his hand. His fingers turned white as he whispered, How could it be like this? A phone. Quickly dodge. Hey! Lei Xingfeng stood steadily. He stared at the herd of bulls. Suddenly, he raised his arm and threw out the steel spear in his hand. Whoosh! The steel spear was like a sharp arrow, shooting straight towards the leading bull. The steel spear was so fast that it only left behind an afterimage. In an instant, the spear pierced through the bull's forehead. More than half of the steel spear pierced through the bull's stomach, leaving only a foot-long shaft outside. The bull continued to charge forward a few steps before it fell to the ground with a loud bang. After shooting out the first spear, another one suddenly appeared in Exine Feng's hand, and he shot it out again. Whoosh! 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 More than 10 whistling sounds could be heard as Lei Xingfeng threw out more than 10 steel spears in one breath. Then, the sound of people falling to the ground could be heard. Kardashian opened his mouth wide. He had never thought that this would happen. Every spear pierced a barbarian bull to death. In just a few breaths of time, more than a dozen barbarian bulls had fallen to the ground. The barbarian bulls that followed behind were immediately tripped. Lei Xingfeng did not stop. Spears flew out one after another, each spear taking down a barbarian bull. In just a few minutes, the entire herd of barbarian bulls had fallen. The hunters on the tree were all dumbfounded. They had never seen such a ferocious slaughter. This was not a hunt, this was a massacre. The barbarian bull was no threat to Lei Xingfeng. Lei Xingfeng came to the herd of barbarian bulls and pulled out the spears one by one. Then he put the corpses of the barbarian bulls into his hidden Luin space. In just a quarter of an hour, all the barbarian bulls on the ground had disappeared. There were a total of 76 barbarian bulls. There were 14 baby barbarian bulls, 21 majestic barbarian bulls, and the rest were female barbarian bulls. Lei Xingfeng planned to hunt 2 more herds of barbarian bulls. He did not have the intention to kill them all. All the hunters were shocked by Lei Xingfeng's crazy slaughter. A herd of barbarian bulls. In less than a minute, they were all killed. How strong must he be? It was too King scary. If he wanted to kill, no one would be able to stop him. Lei Xingfeng slowly walked toward another herd of barbarian bulls. This was a larger herd with more than 100 barbarian bulls. The herd of barbarian bulls quickly discovered Lei Xingfeng and immediately let out threatening cries. Lei Xingfeng ignored them, and a spear appeared in his hand. Suddenly, the rumbling of hooves could be heard. About 30 barbarian bulls charged towards Lei Xingfeng. Lei Xingfeng raised his hand and shot out spears. One after another appeared in his hand. The sound of the spears breaking through the air could be heard again. Without any suspense, in less than 3 minutes, the herd of barbarian bulls were all killed. Not a single barbarian bull could escape. This was the difference between a practitioner and a normal person. A normal person could not kill barbarian bulls like this, nor could they kill so many barbarian bulls. A practitioner, on the other hand, could kill these barbarian bulls effortlessly. The hunters in the trees began to feel numb. However, they were secretly happy. Once they brought back so many barbarian bulls, there would be meat for the entire winter. There was also so much barbarian bull hides. This time, Tiger Cliff Castle was going to be rich. After killing 2 herds of barbarian bulls, Lei Xingfeng stopped. There were many barbarian bulls living in this grassland. There were at least a few thousand of them. Killing 200 barbarian bulls was nothing. Leaving 100 barbarian bulls and hides for Tiger Cliff Castle would be enough for them to survive the winter. Lei Xingfeng pulled out his spear and put the corpses into his hidden ruin space. Then he walked back and said, "All right, there are enough barbarian bulls. Uncle Ke, let everyone scout. I want to find the barbarian tribe's gathering place." Uncle Ke looked at Lei Xingfeng with a strange expression. Was this still the lively youth from before? He sighed inwardly and said, "All right, I'll organize it." As he said that, he whistled and the hunters came down from the trees. Everyone who saw Lei Xingfeng had a look of respect. To be able to hunt like this person was definitely strong. Hunters always had respect for strong people. When they knew that Lei Xingfeng wanted to clear out the barbarians, the hunters cheered. The hunters in the mountains all knew that the most dangerous thing in the forest was not the large beasts, but the barbarians. Because the barbarians were intelligent and strong, they liked to hunt humans. This was a necessary process for them to show their bravery. If the barbarians did not hunt humans, they were not considered warriors. Many of the hunters in Tiger Cliff Castle had died in the hands of the barbarians. Therefore, when Kudashin ordered a search for the barbarian tribe, no one would back down. They immediately spread out and entered the forest. Of course, they also formed small groups to search for the barbarian tribe. Jean Dial laughed. "A phone, you scared them." Mad Eagle said, "It's normal. If they could still be calm, then there would be a problem." Hee hee. Tiger Love asked, "A phone barbarians, what are they?" Lei Xingfeng said, "The natives here hunt. Hunters for glory." Tiger Love was shocked. "There are natives like that? Are there no practitioners here?" Lei Xingfeng said, "There are. How could there not be? It's just that there aren't any high-level practitioners here. At most, there are 3rd or 4th ring sages. These people are all controllers, so they won't go to the mountains to kill the barbarian tribe. As for those low-level Wanluan Shi and Millwill masters, they might be able to kill a lot of barbarians, but it's impossible for them to exterminate the barbarians." Tiger Love said, "If it was our hometown, we would have exterminated the barbarians a long time ago." Lei Xingfeng said, "This is a remote mountain area. There aren't many people here. Even if hunters were killed, who would know if they weren't locals?" Mad Eagle said, "What do you plan to do?" Lei Xingfeng said, "I don't care. I just want to clean up the area around Tiger Cliff so that the barbarians won't dare to come here. As for the rest, I don't care." Mad Eagle nodded. "Yes, that's good. Although it won't solve the root of the problem, at least it will make our hometown safer." Lei Xingfeng laughed. "Yes, I have some feelings for my hometown." Mad Eagle said, "Consider it as giving back to your hometown. Good thing you don't have a big family, or else. You'll be even busier." Lei Xingfeng laughed bitterly. "If I had a big family, it would be different. Too bad. I can't even find little sister Ai." He never mentioned his parents and never met them, so he didn't have any feelings for them. Mad Eagle comforted him. "You'll find them. They're not normal people." Lei Xingfeng nodded. "Yes, I'll find them." In the evening, the hunters honked and gathered. They came to the treehouse beside the pond. It was a resting place for the hunters of Tiger Cliff Castle. It was also a hunting ground. Lei Xingfeng asked, "Did you find them?" The hunters all shook their heads. They didn't find the barbarians' gathering place. Lei Xingfeng didn't find it strange. The mountain area was too big. With only 20 people, they couldn't have gone far. If they found the barbarians, then they were lucky. It was normal that they couldn't find them. Lei Xingfeng laughed. "It's okay. Let's rest tonight. Tomorrow, the 4 of us will search. Will definitely find the barbarians' gathering place." He was very confident. This confidence was built on the fact that the 4 of them could fly. Once they could fly, their scouting range would be very wide. If the barbarians had a tribe, they wouldn't be able to hide it. Taking out a wild bull Dashin and his men began to skin it and boil water to prepare for dinner. There were more than 20 of them, and all of them were strong men. It was more than enough for them to eat a bull and some other small game. While these hunters were searching for barbarians, they also hunted some small animals, such as wild rabbits and pheasants. Hui also hunted 2 precious lambs. These things were delicious. The precious lambs were very small, at most 20 to 30 gene of meat. However, even in Tiger Cliff Castle, precious lambs were still good food. A big pot was set up. Someone picked up a large pile of dead trees. Lei Xingfeng specially took out a few oil trees and put them under the pile of firewood. The hunters were all experts in cooking. Some of them found wild vegetables and mushrooms and cooked them with the barbarian beef. Large amounts of rock salt were sprinkled into the pot. All kinds of wild vegetables and fresh mushrooms were added into the pot. When the water boiled, the aroma was already coming out. In fact, cooking in the wild was a very dangerous thing. It would attract strong beasts. However, with Lei Xingfeng and the other 3, the hunters didn't care too much. Any hunter would know how to cook a mixed stew. It was all kinds of meat, wild vegetables, mushrooms, bamboo shoots, and a few handfuls of rock salt. It was an exceptional delicacy because it was the freshest meat and the freshest vegetables. Only then could it be cooked into the best mixed stew. Some people even added in some salted meat for flavor. This was the conclusion of their experience. Chapter 193. Even though Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love had seen a lot, they had never tasted a stew like this before. When they smelled the tempting aroma, the 3 of them began to salivate. Jean Dia said, "This is almost as good as our fatty's cooking. Why is it so fragrant?" Lei Xingfeng laughed. "This is the most famous stew here. The main ingredient is bull meat. Only with this kind of meat can you make the most delicious dishes." Haha, I've only eaten it a few times. It's mainly because bull meat is too rare. Kardashian also sighed. In the past, even a small hunting group could not hunt a bull. If we could hunt one, it would be a small festival for us Tiger Cliff Castle hunters. With a large bonfire lit and more than 20 hunters and Lei Xingfeng's group of 4, it was very safe. Even if there were large beasts, they would not be afraid. After seeing Lei Xingfeng kill a bull, the hunters seemed to have a backbone. They were not afraid of being attacked by wild beasts. They began to eat happily. Everyone had a big bowl of meat and ate with big mouthfuls. If the bull meat was cooked fresh, it would be very delicious and tender. The best meat in the barbarian gathering continent was bull meat. No other meat could compare. Mad Eagle and Tiger Love had eaten bacon and dried meat made with bull meat, but this was the first time they had eaten fresh bull meat. They almost swallowed their tongues. It was too delicious. Oh, Jean Dia stood up with a smile. He put down the copper basin in his hand and asked for a spear. He raised his arm and threw it. With a loud crash, a black shadow fell from the tree. Jean Dia then said, "This prey is yours." The hunter who handed him the spear was overjoyed. He thanked Jean Dia and immediately ran down the tree. Soon, the hunter dragged a dead leopard. He exclaimed, "How accurate!" The spear shot into the leopard's head from the left ear to the right. This kind of piercing method could get the whole leopard's skin. The roars of various beasts gradually increased, and some of the hunters seemed to be a little uneasy. Lei Xingfeng said, "Don't worry, everyone. Just leave the safety to us." Attracted by the smell of blood, many beasts began to wander around the campfire. As there were many hunters, they did not dare to attack for the time being. However, as long as they dared to come close, they would be killed by Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, or Tiger Love. They would ask the hunters around them for a spear and shoot it out. The prey would belong to the owner of the spear. So many hunters gathered around them, hoping that they would lend them a spear. Kardashian couldn't help but laugh and scold. "These good-for-nothings." Lei Xingfeng also found it funny, but he didn't curse. He knew that the life of a hunter wasn't easy. Although the meat of a beast wasn't as delicious as bull meat, their fur was very valuable and could be exchanged for a lot of daily necessities. After finishing their meal, they had killed 7 or 8 beasts. Most of them were leopards, forest tigers, and a few lone wolves. The hunters who obtained the wild beasts were all overjoyed. Of course, when they returned, they would also share some of the meat with others. Their harvest was mainly the pelts. A large leopard's pelt was not inferior to a bull's pelt. That was because the large leopard's pelt had beautiful patterns. At night, Lei Xingfeng sat on the platform of the tree house to cultivate. At the same time, he was guarding the hunters. All the hunters lived in the trees. Most of the trees here had holes. As long as the holes were blocked, a few people could sleep inside. After Lei Xingfeng finished cultivating, Jin Daya came to keep watch. He went back to the tree house and laid down his clothes. He slept until dawn. In the morning, all the hunters quickly gathered. Kadashin came over and asked, "Afong, what should we do today?" Lei Xingfeng said, "Of the four of us, one will stay behind to look after the team. The other two will come with me to find a barbarian tribe. Let's split up and search. We don't have to go too far, just nearby." Kadashin said, "All right, Afong, be careful. If you find a barbarian tribe, wait for us to attack together." He still didn't know how strong Lei Xingfeng was. He was still afraid that Lei Xingfeng was alone. Lei Xingfeng heard his worry and felt very warm. He smiled and said, "Uncle Ku, it's okay." Tiger Love said, "I'll stay with the hunters. Afong, don't worry. With me looking after them, they'll be fine." Lei Xingfeng was, of course, not worried. It was easy for a ninth ring sage to take care of more than 20 hunters. Husan walked over and said, "Afong, go to the north. It's very likely." Lei Xingfeng said, "Has anyone seen barbarians in the north before?" Husan nodded and said, "Yes, Xiao Dao saw barbarians in the north last time. He didn't dare to contact them and came back." Xiao Dao was Kudao. Lei Xingfeng also knew him. He was one of the stronger hunters in Tiger Cliff Castle. Lei Xingfeng said, "All right, let's go." He took Jin Daya and Mad Eagle into the air and flew towards the north. Most of the hunters here had never seen a person fly in the air. They were shocked and started talking among themselves. Tiger Love smiled and said, "Don't make a fuss. Afong is very strong now." Kudashin and Kunanshan saw Lei Xingfeng fall from the sky, but they didn't say anything. They were still shocked when they saw Lei Xingfeng fly again. They understood that Lei Xingfeng was already in a different world from them. Lei Xingfeng and the other two flew for a while in the air. He said, "Uncle Jean, Uncle Ling, let's fly separately. We can see a bigger area. Barbarians are not much different from humans, but they are taller and wear simple clothes. They look very fierce. You'll know when you see them." The two of them agreed and went in two different directions. Lei Xingfeng flew in a straight line and surveyed the area below. It was his first time flying in his hometown, and he had just learned how to fly. He was still very curious, so he didn't fly very high. He only flew about 10 meters above the treetops so that he could see the scenery below clearly. He didn't fly very far before he heard Jin Daya's earth-shattering howl. He immediately understood that Jin Daya must have discovered the barbarians. He rushed over without hesitation. Soon, he saw Mad Eagle flying towards him from the other side. When he got close to Lei Xingfeng, he said, "Old Jin must have found the target." Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, "Let's go quickly." Soon, they saw Jin Daya flying around in the air, constantly emitting sharp howls. They looked down and saw dozens of barbarians running around in panic. Once they scattered, Jin Daya swooped down from the sky and pretended to attack. The barbarians were so scared that they immediately turned around and ran. Just like that, the barbarians gradually gathered together. Mad Eagle laughed and said, "That's a good idea. It'll be hard to deal with them if they scatter." Lei Xingfeng said, "Uncle Jin, what are you doing? Kill them." He knew how fierce and merciless the barbarians were. If a hunter was caught, he would really be eaten, especially during the winter when there was a lack of food. The barbarians and the residents here were basically in a situation where they would fight to the death. Jin Daya laughed and said, "Didn't I want you to deal with them? All right, since you want them to die, then let them die." In the blink of an eye, he had plunged into the crowd of barbarians. In an instant, blood and flesh flew everywhere. With Jin Daya's ninth ring sage strength and the fact that he had killed countless barbarians, Killing these few barbarians was nothing to him. Lei Xingfeng suddenly reacted and shouted, "Leave one alive." But he was too late. There were a total of 20 barbarians. A few breaths' time was enough for Jean Dia to kill them all. Jean Dia immediately stopped, but it was too late. Not a single barbarian was left standing. They were all lying in pools of blood. He was a little embarrassed and said, "A phone you this, I'm sorry, I was a little fast. I killed them all." Mad Eagle couldn't stop laughing. He said, "Old Jean, how long has it been since you killed someone?" Jean Dia said, to be honest, when I was younger, I often killed people. When I reached 7th or 8th ring, I rarely killed people. When I became a 9th ring sage, this was my first time killing someone. I was a little excited, so my hand slipped. Lei Xingfeng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He had to admit that Jean Dia's killing skills were extremely sharp. He didn't use any of his cultivation skills. He just used a long saber in a hand. Slashing and punching, he killed 20 barbarians in a few breaths' time. The barbarians weren't ordinary people. They were extremely fast and strong. They could run fast and jump high. But under Jean Dia's slaughter, they couldn't resist at all. They were killed silently. Lei Xingfeng said, "Impressive, Uncle Jean. You're an expert at killing people. All right, let's continue looking." Jean Dia said, "There are so many barbarians. Their tribe should be nearby. We should be able to find them soon." Lei Xingfeng nodded. "Yes, that's right. This should be Lead Eagle's territory." "Oh, right. Lead Eagle's people have already moved. Did the barbarians take over Lead Eagle's residence?" Jean Dia said, "What Lead Eagle?" Lei Xingfeng explained, "Lead Eagle is another settlement. They had a conflict with Tiger Cliff, but we defeated them and they all moved away." Jean Dia said, "If that's the case, then you're probably right. Let's go and take a look." Lei Xingfeng hadn't been to Lead Eagle before, but he knew that it was north of Tiger Cliff. He said, "Let's go and take a look." Mad Eagle said, "Lead Eagle? Is the name of Lead Eagle's people Eagle?" Lei Xingfeng laughed. "What? Are you trying to claim kinship?" "That's right. There are many people with the surname Eagle in Lead Eagle." Mad Eagle said, "I'm not claiming kinship. There aren't many people with the surname Eagle. Maybe they're really distant relatives." Lei Xingfeng was stunned. He said, "No way." Chapter 194. Lei Xingfeng looked at Mad Eagle speechlessly. He said, "Uncle Ing, don't joke like that. Although I didn't kill many of Lead Eagle's men and only chase them away, if they are really your relatives, I'll be embarrassed." Mad Eagle suddenly laughed and said, "A phone. Even if Lead Eagle really has my distant relatives, it's no big deal." "Haha, do you have to be so nervous?" Jean Dia said, "A phone is interested in this." "Don't talk nonsense." Mad Eagle raised his hand and said, Okay, I'm just guessing." Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly. Back then, he was the one who forced Lead Eagle to move away and killed many of their hunters. If they were Mad Eagle's distant relatives, it would be embarrassing. He said, "This world is big, but this world is small." "Okay, let's go to Lead Eagle and have a look." The three of them quickly flew towards Lead Eagle. Mad Eagle said, "Let me do it this time." Lei Xingfeng said, "No, let me do it." Mad Eagle smiled bitterly and said, "A phone, it's really nothing. I was just asking." Lei Xingfeng nodded and didn't say anything. Jean Dia secretly laughed. Mad Eagle said, "Hey, old Jean, what are you laughing at?" Jean Dia laughed and said, "You're making things difficult for a phone, haha." Mad Eagle said, "Go away. I was just curious. I'm an ancestor in the Eagle family. All my relatives are dead." With his 9th ring sage body, it was impossible for him to cultivate to this level without at least a few hundred years. Not to mention his distant relatives, even his close relatives would have died long ago if they didn't cultivate. Lei Xingfeng heard this and suddenly felt relieved. He said, "You're an ancestor, so you probably don't have many relatives who know about it." Mad Eagle said, "I've been in the hidden sect for almost 160 years. How could I still have any relatives? Even if I did, I don't know how many generations have passed." Not long after, Lei Xingfeng saw a barbarian. Then he saw a few more barbarians hiding in the bushes. However, With Lei Xingfeng's sharp eyes, these barbarians had nowhere to hide. They could see them clearly. Mad Eagle roared and pounced forward. He was a little annoyed with himself for saying the wrong thing just now, so he didn't have any intention of holding back against these barbarians. With a flash of his blade, the barbarians screamed in agony. In just a few seconds, Mad Eagle flew back up and said, "This seems to be where the barbarians are active." Lei Xingfeng nodded. Yes, it seems like Lead Eagle has been taken over by the barbarians. Maybe their tribe is in Lead Eagle. The three of them continued to fly. After a while, they saw Lead Eagle. Jean Dia laughed. Sure enough, that's where the barbarian tribe is settled down. Haha, this tribe doesn't seem very big. Even if it was a small tribe, there were at least 500 people. Among them, there were at least 150 to 200 barbarians who could hunt. There were at least 30 to 40 elite barbarians. Lei Xingfeng narrowed his eyes and said, "These barbarians must be eliminated. They are too big a threat to Tiger Cliff Castle." Strictly speaking, these barbarians were a bigger threat than the barbarians from Lead Eagle. How could he let them live here? Jean Dia said, "There are two paths here. As long as we block these two paths, they won't be able to escape." Lei Xingfeng agreed. Yes, Uncle Jean, you take one path. Uncle Ing, you take the other path. If they try to escape, kill them one by one. Haha, I'll take care of the barbarians. He wanted to personally eliminate this threat. At this time, the barbarians had already noticed the three hovering in the air. They all cried out in alarm. Whether they were barbarians or normal people, they all knew that anyone who could fly was extremely terrifying. The barbarians began to flee in panic. Although they were savage and incomparably fierce, it didn't mean that they weren't afraid of death. Moreover, they weren't beasts. They had their own intelligence, and their intelligence wasn't any lower than a normal person's. When they met someone who could fly, they didn't even think of resisting. Their first thought was to escape. However, no matter how strong they were, how fierce they were in battle, or how fast they could run, they couldn't compare to 3 sages. 2 ninth ring sages and 1 7th ring sages were especially easy to deal with. Lei Xingfeng flew directly above the barbarian tribe and attacked from above. This was the first time the Chaos Wheel had shown its power. Boom! With just a light attack, the Chaos Wheel destroyed 2 houses and killed all the people inside. Just like an air raid, Lei Xingfeng quickly circled in the air and launched countless attacks. After this period of training, the Chaos Wheel's power had increased a lot. Lei Xingfeng also wanted to test it out. In just a few minutes, the barbarians had attacked from top to bottom. All the houses left behind by the Chaos Wheel were turned to ashes. None of the barbarians who were caught in the attack were able to escape. Only the barbarians who were nearby were able to escape when Lei Xingfeng attacked. They madly ran along the path and crashed into Jean Dia or Mad Eagle. Even the bravest barbarians were frightened by such a bloody massacre. Many of them knelt down and surrendered, which was a rare sight. Jean Dia and Mad Eagle simply couldn't accept this. In just a few moments, the entire tribe was slaughtered. Lei Xingfeng didn't chase after the few barbarians that escaped because he knew that he needed the barbarians to spread the news. This way, no barbarian tribes would migrate here. After clearing out the barbarian tribe, Lei Xingfeng, Jean Dia, and Mad Eagle turned around and flew back. After killing the barbarian tribe, Lei Xingfeng's mood was very good. This hidden danger would only increase with time, and the damage to Tiger Cliff Castle would increase. Once the barbarian tribe grew stronger, the residents of Tiger Cliff Castle would either have to migrate or be trapped to death. There was no third option. Once the traditional hunting grounds were occupied, they would slowly decline, not to mention that they could fight with the barbarians at any time. This could be considered as Lei Xingfeng repaying the people of Tiger Cliff Castle. If it wasn't for their help, Lei Xingfeng and his sister would have starved to death. Mad Eagle laughed. The barbarians here aren't that strong. Lei Xingfeng said, "Of course you don't think they're strong. You're a 9th ring sage. How can you say that? When I first started cultivating, I was only a 100 master. Fighting with the barbarians was very difficult, and I guess you didn't have such an experience." Mad Eagle said, Hundred-Lin Master, such a distant memory. Why became a Hundred-Lin Master? I forgot. I don't even know how I felt. Jean Dia sighed and said, not to mention Hundred-Lin Master, I don't even remember what it feels like to become a sage with one true ring body. It's been too long. Lei Xingfeng muttered, damn, is this Alzheimer's? He laughed. What's the use of remembering all that? It's best if you both become monarchs again. Hee. That's when you'll remember it. Jean Dia and Mad Eagle almost fell from the sky. The two rolled their eyes. Mad Eagle said, a phone, you can't tease us like that. Becoming a monarch, this barrier has stopped countless geniuses. As for us who relied on rings to break through, we have no hope at all. Lei Xingfeng laughed. As long as you're alive, there's always a chance. I forgot who said this, but I think it makes sense. Jean Dia said, it doesn't sound reliable. Just like me, I rely on rings to survive. Once I lose rings, I won't be able to last long. My hope is rings, not advancement. Becoming a monarch, it doesn't sound realistic. The two lamented and scolded Lei Xingfeng until he was speechless. Lei Xingfeng said, all right, uncle and I don't have anything in common. Jean Dia and Mad Eagle were speechless. This was too much of a bully. Thinking about it, it was still the same saying. It's good to be young. Back at the hunter's treehouse, Lei Xingfeng was the first to land. Kardashian asked, a phone, did you see any barbarians? Before Lei Xingfeng could speak, Mad Eagle said, killed them all. Kananshan said, kill them all. How many did you kill? Lei Xingfeng said, the original lead eagle was taken over by a barbarian tribe. These words shocked the group of hunters. They had all lived here for a long time. Hearing this news, of course they were shocked. This meant that there would never be a day of peace in the future. Kardashian said, if I knew this would happen, I would have let the people from Lead Eagle live here. Jean Dia didn't understand. Why are you sighing? That barbarian tribe was completely wiped out by a phone. I don't think any barbarians will come here in the future. The hunters were both surprised and happy. Kushur even lightly knocked Lei Xingfeng and praised, a phone, good job. Everyone's faces were filled with joy. This was even more exciting than harvesting a large amount of prey. With this barbarian tribe gone, Tiger Cliff Castle was completely safe. Everyone had the same thought. In the future, they wouldn't have to worry about barbarians ambushing them. Because of this, everyone was grateful to Lei Xingfeng. Kardashian also smiled. That's great. Without the barbarians, there will be more prey. Every hunter knew that as long as the barbarians were here, there would be fewer prey. Then the barbarian tribe would migrate. However, these hunters had families to feed, so migrating was almost impossible. Because of this, life would become extremely difficult. After eliminating the barbarians, this piece of land would be enough to feed the people of Tiger Cliff Castle. Of course, it would still be difficult to live here. Lei Xingfeng asked, Uncle Nanshan, Uncle Sure, do you want to move to another place with me? Chapter 195. Uncle Nanshan, and Sure were all stunned. After a while, Dashin smiled. A phone, you're too kind. Haha, I'm already used to this place and don't want to move anymore. Life here may be tough, but it's all within my control. Leaving here, I don't even know what to do. Nanshan also rejected Lei Xingfeng's suggestion. He felt that life in Tiger Cliff Castle was good. Sure shook his head. I only know how to hunt. I don't know anything else. So, let's just stay here. No one was willing to leave their homeland. They were all normal people, different from practitioners. They were afraid of leaving familiar places. Lei Xingfeng sighed and said, all right, I won't force you guys. He believed that he could provide a good place for them to live. Since they weren't willing, he wouldn't force them. This was their own choice. Kananshan smiled. A phone, although he won't go, Uncle still thanks you. Haha, Uncle appreciates your kindness. Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, let's go back to Tiger Cliff Castle. There's still a bunch of bulls to deal with. Speaking of the barbarian bulls, Dashin and the others remembered the shocking scene of Xian Feng killing the barbarian bulls and the sudden disappearance of the barbarian bulls. They had always wanted to ask about it, but they didn't know where to start until Xian Feng brought it up himself. Could Dashin asked curiously, "Where are the bulls?" Lei Xingfeng smiled. "I have them with me. I'll let them out when we get back." Dashin was confused, but since Lei Xingfeng didn't explain further, he didn't ask further. It was no wonder that Lei Xingfeng didn't say anything. Even if he did, they wouldn't understand. Of course, those who didn't cultivate wouldn't understand the existence of the hidden Lun space. Nanshan smiled. "Don't worry so much. Anyway, a Feng is keeping them. Are you afraid that you won't be able to see the bulls? Let's go back." Returning to Tiger Cliff Castle, the old chief, Songyu, personally welcomed them. Although he was surprised that so many hunters had only carried a few fierce beasts and small animals like pheasants, rabbits, and goats, he still warmly welcomed them. When Lei Xingfeng released the bulls from the hidden Lun space, everyone was shocked. More than 200 bulls were spread out on the ground. Lei Xingfeng said, "This time I'll have to trouble everyone in the castle to clean up." 200 bulls. I think we should divide them into groups and set up a wooden frame to hang the bulls. Every family, other than the children and the elderly, everyone else needs to help. Songyu was an experienced hunter and once the best one, but he had never seen anyone hunt so many bulls at once. The beef had to be marinated, and fresh meat couldn't be kept for too long. If it wasn't handled properly, it would become rancid. He couldn't care less about his shock and joy. He immediately ordered all the residents of Tiger Cliff Castle to come out and help. In fact, even without Songyu's orders, everyone came out. It was too sensational. This was a scene that Tiger Cliff Castle had never seen since it was founded. A huge wooden frame was set up, and the bulls were hung on it. Then the hunters came forward and began to cut them up. The hides were taken care of by the women. Large amounts of internal organs were put in wooden basins. The horns were also good stuff. The horns were placed on the side, and large chunks of meat were cut off. Immediately, someone took out rock salt and began to marinate them. Then, they hung them up to dry. Lei Xingfeng, Jin Daya, and Mad Eagle were invited to Songyu's home to receive them. Although more than 200 barbarian bulls were a lot, it only took them a day to deal with all the barbarian bulls in the fort. The rest of the barbarian bulls were unimportant. Today, every family was stewing meat and making a thick soup of bull bones. The whole Tiger Cliff Castle was filled with the rich aroma of bull meat. Lei Xingfeng only took a portion of the cured meat and 10 or so hides. The rest was distributed by Songyu to all the families in the castle. Every family received a few 100 pounds of meat, a few 100 pounds of bones, and some internal organs. The whole of Tiger Cliff Castle was as lively as a festival. The children were especially happy. Even though most of the people in Tiger Cliff Castle were hunters, not every family could eat meat. Those who could eat until they were full were usually the hunters in the family. Everyone else had it harder. Lei Xingfeng returned to his small courtyard. Everything was still there, but Yi and his little sister were nowhere to be seen. Sighing, Lei Xingfeng sat in the courtyard in a daze. Jin Daya, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love each sat on one side. After a while, Lei Xingfeng said, "Sigh, it's a pity that Yi didn't come back. If he came back, I would know where to look." Jin Daya reminded him, "Why don't you leave an address as well? If your family comes back, they can find you. At the very least, there will be news." Lei Xingfeng nodded. He knew that his sect had a representative on the continent. Mad Eagle and Tiger Love both knew this. He told Tiger Love to tell Songyu and leave an address. Once Yi came back, he could tell him the address. This was a hope. Lei Xingfeng left this hope. If Elder Thunderstorm came back, he would definitely come looking for him. Jin Daya said, "A phone. How long do you plan to stay here?" Lei Xingfeng said, "This is not a place to stay for long. Go pick up your family's Jin Depang. Haha, I really miss his cooking. He's a talent." The next day, Lei Xingfeng and the other two left. Songyu felt a little regretful. If Lei Xingfeng stayed for a while longer and went hunting again, his life this year would be comfortable. However, he also understood that he couldn't keep such an expert. Lei Xingfeng said a few words to Dashin, Nanshan, and Shur before the four of them flew into the air and quickly left. "Where is this?" Lei Xingfeng laughed. "This is Hong Tong City." He still remembered that when he left Tiger Cliff Castle, he lived here for a while. He even killed a great elder's great-grandson and caused a lot of trouble. Hongtong City had Shi Quan and Hong Chun, who could be considered two friends. In order to protect Lei Xingfeng, Shi Quan had a conflict with the great elder of the inner sect, and Zishur. In the end, it was a Yi who intervened and killed him. At that time, Lei Xingfeng hadn't even reached the level of a mill-wheel master and had just started cultivating. Lei Xingfeng's mind suddenly flashed with a thought. A Yi and the people of Hongtong City knew each other. Perhaps they were in contact. He said, I'm going to find a friend to ask about the situation. Jean Dias said, Is it in front of Hongtong City? Lei Xingfeng nodded, and it's in front. We'll fly there directly. From the air, they could still vaguely make out the original path into the city. Lei Xingfeng took the lead and led the way. The four of them flew into Hongtong City. Slightly identifying the direction, Lei Xingfeng already saw the place where Shi Quan lived. When the four of them landed from the sky, there were already many cultivators around them. All of their eyes were filled with fear. As cultivators, everyone knew what it meant to be able to fly in the sky. They were definitely extremely powerful experts. Moreover, there were four of them coming down at once. It was too frightening. They were all 100 Luan Masters, 1,000 Luan Masters, and a few on Luan Shur. The leader was a mill-wheel master. With Lei Xingfeng's current strength, looking at them again, their levels were too low. He could almost see through their strength. There wasn't even a sage here. Lei Xingfeng said, Is Great Elder Shi Quan here? The mill-wheel master nervously said, Excuse me, who are these guests? Lei Xingfeng laughed. Don't be nervous. They're friends, not enemies. Mad Eagle laughed. If they were enemies, this city would already be gone. The mill-wheel master was so scared that he trembled. These words were too damn shameful. What they meant was, if they were enemies, they would have already destroyed the entire city. But hearing Lei Xingfeng say they were friends, he secretly let out a sigh of relief. If they were enemies, he wouldn't know what to do. He said, For seniors, I'll go report now. Please wait. Tiger Love said, And not bad. You can still be considered calm. The mill-wheel master staggered a few steps and walked into the house. Mad Eagle and Jean Dia had a look of schadenfreude, letting out a chuckle. Tiger Love's words were indeed very cold. In just a moment, a few people came out of the house. The leader was Shi Quan. The person beside him was Hong Chun. There was also another person that Lei Xingfeng didn't expect. It was Hong Chen's female disciple, Yin Yin. The three of them were stunned when they saw Lei Xingfeng. This was because Lei Xingfeng had changed a lot. He had changed from a youth to a youth. But they all felt a sense of familiarity. Shi Quan probed, You are? Lei Xingfeng scratched his head and said with a bit of embarrassment, I am. Lei Xingfeng, do you still remember? This time, not only did Mad Eagle and Jean Dia laugh, even Tiger Love couldn't help but laugh. Was this the friend he was talking about? He actually asked his friend if he still remembered him. This was too funny. Lei Xingfeng's face reddened. This was a bit embarrassing. Luckily, Shi Quan reacted quickly. When Lei Xingfeng reported, he had already reacted. But there was still a bit of doubt in his heart. The person who came to report had specifically mentioned that the four people came from the sky. Of course, he understood that practitioners who could fly must be at least 6th ring sage. 4 6th ring sages coming over was very frightening. But what level Lei Xingfeng was at, Shi Quan knew. That year, Lei Xingfeng hadn't even reached the level of a mill-wheel master. How could he be a 6th ring sage? Was this a joke? Shi Quan's mind was a bit confused. He pointed at the sky and then at Lei Xingfeng, saying, You are a phone. You flew here? Jean Dia laughed. Of course he flew here. Did he walk here? A phone is a 7th ring sage. Shi Quan's mind was in a daze. He couldn't understand how Lei Xingfeng was a 7th ring sage. It hadn't been many years since the last time. So how could he have advanced so quickly? One had to know that he was a 3rd ring sage. Even now, he was still a 3rd ring sage. There was no chance for him to advance, but Lei Xingfeng had surpassed him. Chapter 196. You're that Lei Xingfeng. Senior Thunderstorm is your grandfather? Shiquan's mind was a mess. Looking closely at Lei Xingfeng's face, he could see the shadow of his youth, but he couldn't understand how in such a short period of time he could go from a low-level practitioner to a seventh ring sage. This was completely beyond his knowledge and understanding. Lei Xingfeng said, "That's right, it's me. And no need to be surprised, you can also advance quickly." He had a sentence in his heart, and that was, "Your advancement speed is different from mine. If you were given rings, advancing to ninth ring wouldn't be a problem, but if you were to advance on your own, you'd probably reach fourth ring in your lifetime." Shiquan was even more confused. What did he mean by you can also advance quickly? He had been stuck at the 3-ring level for a very long time. He had almost given up on advancing, let alone advancing quickly. Wasn't this nonsense? Hong Chun had advanced. He was now a second-ring sage, so he was already an intersect elder. His female disciple hadn't advanced, but she would soon. After a few more years of hard work, she would definitely advance. A phone, hello. Hong Chun took the initiative to greet him, and Yin Yin also nodded. Shiquan said, "Hi, hello." A phone. He wanted to call him senior, but he couldn't say it. It was too difficult. Lei Xingfeng knew he was embarrassed and said, "Just call me a phone. You and Ai are friends, so you're my senior." Shiquan let out a big sigh of relief. Practitioners were indeed differentiated by strength, but if there was a difference between seniors and juniors, then there was no need to care about strength. If the son's strength was higher than the father's, how could the father call the son senior? Everyone had their own opinions. "A phone, please come in." Shiquan's attitude became more natural, and he remembered that it was impolite to let the guest stand, so he immediately let Lei Xingfeng and the other 3 in. Hongchen also said, "That's right, let's talk inside. Please come in." The group of people all came to Shi Xian's guest hall. Lei Xingfeng then introduced Uncle Jean, Uncle Ing, Uncle Tiger. This is Aye's friend, Shi Xian, Hong Tong's intersect great elder. This is Du Hong Chun, outer sect elder. This is his disciple, Yin Yin. Shiquan smiled. Old Du is already an elder of the intersect. He's now a second-ring sage. A phone, who are these 3? Lei Xingfeng gestured for them to introduce themselves. Jean Dia stepped forward and said, "Jean Dia, 9th ring sage, captain of a Feng's guard." Mad Eagle said, "Mad Eagle, just call me Old Eagle, 9th ring sage, a Feng's guard." Actually, he and Tiger Love were both captain of guards. Tiger Love smiled. "Tiger Love, and you can call me Tiger or Uncle Tiger, and 9th ring sage, a Feng's guard." After the 3 of them finished speaking, the guest hall was dead silent. Qi Xian, Hong Chun, Yin, as well as the disciples and grand disciples who followed them into the hall, all had their mouths wide open, their faces full of shock. Is this a joke? 3 9th ring sages, the so-called Ashen Seal sage, the top existence of this world, and they were all F*** king guards. Even if you wanted to scare people, you shouldn't scare them like this. After a while, Shiquan made a few muffled sounds and finally calmed down a bit. He said, ninth ring sage." Jean Dia smiled. "Our 9th ring sage is a bit fake." Don't be so weird. 9th ring sages aren't monsters, there are plenty of them." Shiquan pointed at Lei Xingfeng. But they're your guards? 3 9th ring sages, they're all your guards?" Even his voice changed. Lei Xingfeng said sincerely, "Yes, they're my guards, and also my friends and elders. They're very good to me." Shiquan was about to cry. Was there such a strange thing? What kind of person was this, to have such an imposing manner? To have 3 9th ring sages as guards? At this time, he also realized that Lei Xingfeng's background had changed. Back then, even Old Man Thunderstorm didn't give him such a big shock. Thinking back to when he protected Lei Xingfeng, he felt much better. He secretly rejoiced that back then, when he was fighting with Enshurzi, he did his best to protect Lei Xingfeng. Now it seemed that he was very wise. At least he could see that Lei Xingfeng was very respectful towards him and didn't put on airs just because he was a 7th ring sage. Thinking about this, his face showed joy. Hong Chun and Yin Yin were originally more at ease, but after Jean Dia and the others introduced themselves, the 2 were completely shocked, speechless. Shiquan politely invited everyone to take a seat. He said, "A phone, Long time no see. Where have you and Senior Lei been all these years? Lei Xingfeng laughed bitterly. Hearing this, he knew that Shi Quan hadn't seen Ai. He said, I was separated from little sister Ai. This time I came back to see if Ai came to find you. Shi Quan was shocked. What? Separated? Lei Xingfeng nodded. Yes, we've been separated for a long time. I've been looking for them. Shi Quan said they didn't come. Senior Lei didn't come. When they retreated from the ancient hidden Luan to Stellar Night Fortress, Shi Quan, Hong Chun, and Yin Yin were the first to leave. Jin Depeng also left at that time. They couldn't use the Luan spot or the ancient Luan passage and had to walk back. They didn't know what happened after that and didn't know that Old Man Thunderstorm stole E. Dayton and tried to take revenge on Si Dano. Lei Xingfeng said, and Uncle Tiger, leave a way to contact Ai. If Ai come, I'll have to trouble Great Elder to give it to Ai. Shi Quan readily agreed. This kind of thing didn't take much time and effort. He had no reason to refuse, and he could also use this to get on good terms with Lei Xingfeng. He solemnly told his subordinates to remind him of this at any time. At the same time, he ordered them to go out and find Thunderstorm's whereabouts. Lei Xingfeng was very satisfied. Actually, when they were at Stellar Night Fortress and excavating the ancient Hidden Land, they were already very familiar with each other, but after so many years, and Lei Xingfeng actually becoming a seventh ring sage, the distance between them widened. After Shi Quan gave the order, Lei Xingfeng felt much better. Yin Yin couldn't help but ask, a phone. How did you cultivate? Is there a trick to it? Lei Xingfeng laughed. My method doesn't suit you, He absorbed natural lightning during a thunderstorm. That's why he was able to advance so quickly. Of course, this was something Yin Yin couldn't learn. Yin Yin showed an extremely disappointed expression. Lei Xingfeng couldn't bear it. He knew that Yin Yin trained very hard, but her talent was very normal. Unless she used Luan rings, she might be able to step into the true master realm. But in a small place like theirs, such a small power, it was impossible to get Luan rings. They might not even know that Luan rings could help with cultivation. Lei Xingfeng said, Did you know that Luan rings can help you advance to true master? As expected, not only Yin Yin didn't know, even Shi Quan and Hong Chen didn't know. Hong Chen asked curiously, What Luan rings? Lei Xingfeng sighed. This was the disadvantage of not knowing much. He said, Luan rings, Lunin rings, and the most important Yin rings. They can all help people cultivate quickly. If you have enough Luan rings, Lunin rings, and Yin rings, advancing to ninth ring sage body is not impossible. Shi Quan, Hong Chun, and Yin Yin immediately became excited. Ninth ring sage body. That's a top true master, Shi Quan asked. Did you cultivate like this to reach seventh ring sage? Jean Dia laughed and said, How is that possible? What kind of talent does a Feng have? He doesn't need these at all. The method he said is what we used. He doesn't need to do this to advance quickly, right? Using Luan rings, Lunin rings, and Yin rings also has its disadvantages. Shi Quan said, What disadvantages? Jean Dia said, Using these support rings, once you advance to ninth ring, it's the end. You can't advance any further. Shi Quan was speechless. After a while, he carefully said, I've been stuck at third ring for a long time. If I can reach ninth ring and can't advance any further, this seems like I'll be very satisfied. Jean Dia said, that's true. Yin Yin said softly, But these Luan rings, Luan Yin rings, and Yin rings, what are they? Lei Xingfeng took out a Luan ring, a Luan Yin ring, and an Yin ring, and said, This is it. Among high-level true masters, Yin rings can be used as money to exchange for all kinds of resources. Jean Dia said, Big powers, big sex, Luan rings are hard currency. Anything can be exchanged. As for Lunin rings and Yin rings, they basically don't appear. Those things are too precious, especially Yin rings. They're treasures to help 6th ring, 7th ring, and 8th ring sage cultivate. Even 9th ring sage can use them to prolong life. Now you should understand how precious these things are. Shi Quan, Hong Chun, and Yin Yin couldn't help but exclaim. Shi Quan sighed and said, How can I get them? Jean Dia said straightforwardly, You can't get them. Even big sex, if Yin rings appear, they will fight to the death. Shi Quan said, But how can a Feng have them? Lei Xingfeng laughed. I'm not from a big sect, he. Jean Dias said, because a Feng has a powerful master. Shi Quan didn't understand. Powerful master? More powerful than you ninth ring sages? He still didn't know that above ninth ring sages, there were even more powerful masters. Jean Dia laughed and shook his head. What are we? It's not even worth mentioning. Ah Feng's master is a big shot. This shot came again and again, making everyone a bit numb. Shi Quan was stunned again. He said, this a big shot more powerful than ninth ring. How is this possible? Chapter 197. Lei Xingfeng explained, above the ninth ring, there are monarchs, but monarchs are very rare. If a ninth ring wants to become a monarch, these supporting methods can't be used. Those who rely on yin rings to become monarchs have almost no chance of becoming monarchs. Shi Quan said, Monarch? Sigh, I can't even reach fourth ring. If I can reach ninth ring, whether or not I can become a monarch is really not important. Hongchen also kept nodding. If they were stuck at the low-level true master stage for the rest of their lives, monarchs or not, it really had nothing to do with them. Lei Xingfeng took out 10 lun rings and gave them to Yin, saying, these lun rings are enough for you to become a true master. Yin was overjoyed. Lei Xingfeng reminded him, however, you have to think carefully. Once you use lun rings and become a true master, if you want to advance again, you have to use lun seals. If you rely on your own strength, it will be very difficult to advance. Shi Quan said, after using lun rings, lun yin rings, and yin rings, you have to continue using them to advance. Lei Xingfeng said, yes, if you have enough lun rings, lun yin rings, and yin rings, you can use them to advance quickly until you reach ninth ring, and the speed of advancement is very fast. Shi Quan said, but where do we go to find lun rings, lun yin rings, and yin rings? Jean Dias said, very simple, enter a hidden sect. Hidden sects all use these to cultivate their strength. Hong Chan said, are you guys from hidden sect? Actually, this was the first time he had heard of a hidden sect. Mad Eagle nodded, saying, that's right, there are actually many hidden sects, but they rarely appear. Even if they do, you wouldn't know they are from a hidden sect, Jean Dias said, you guys have a good relationship with the Feng. Why don't you join us? Lei Xingfeng glanced at him and didn't say anything. He was indeed recruiting subordinates. If Shi Quan and the others joined, he wouldn't have any objections. After all, acquaintances were better than strangers. Shi Quan and Hong Chun were shocked again. They were actually recruiting them? They did not know what to say. After all, this was their foundation. Once they left, this place would be completely wasted. After a while, Hong Chun suddenly made up his mind and said, I can join. Yin Yan's face was obviously filled with joy. She didn't care if she stayed in Hong Tong City or not. If she could advance quickly, even if she joined Lei Xingfeng's forces, she wouldn't object at all. She just wanted to see how her master would handle it. Hearing that her master was willing to join, she was so happy that she almost jumped up. Jean Dia quietly glanced at Lei Xingfeng. Seeing him nod slightly, Jean Dia immediately felt relieved and said, welcome to the team. Since you've joined, you'll have to come with us. Hong Chun said straightforwardly, no problem. Of course, he had no problem with that. If a true ring body with 2 true ring joined the hidden sect, it meant that he had a chance of advancing to true ring body. Shi Quan quickly made up his mind and said, I'll join too. The temptation was too great. Even he couldn't resist it. This kind of opportunity was too hard to come by. If he missed it, he would probably regret it to death. Lei Xingfeng also didn't think that after coming back, he would actually take in 2 subordinates. However, Jean Dia and the other 2 were guards. It was necessary to recruit people and cultivate their own trusted subordinates. Jean Dia nodded, no problem. You can handle it and come back with us. However, we'll send you back in the future. We'll give you all kinds of resources so that after you advance to 6th ring, you'll have a lot of missions. Shi Quan became excited, because from Jean Dia's words, advancing to 6th ring was as easy as eating. He immediately felt that his future was bright. Lei Xingfeng immediately gave out Luan and Luan Yin rings. As for Yin rings, he didn't give them. They were still low-level true masters and didn't need Yin rings. To use Yin rings, one had to at least reach 5th ring body. After resting in Hongtong City for 2 days, Lei Xingfeng brought Shiquan, Hong Chun, and Yin Yan on their journey. Ever since Jin Depan left Stellanite Fortress, he didn't return to the Shi Rong army. He relied on various treasures from the ancient hidden Luan to successfully advance to 1st ring true master. This fatty was smart. When he followed Thunderstorm and Lei Xingfeng, he obtained many good things. This fatty wasn't just good at eating, he also knew how to read people's expressions. With Jin Daya leading the way, Lei Xingfeng and the others easily found Jin Depan. Jin Depan had long since left Shi Rong land. He came to Wanxi Continent and lived in seclusion in a small fishing village. Wanxi Continent was very close to Lei Xingfeng's sect, so Lei Xingfeng and the others returned to Wanxi Continent. Seeing Jin Depan, Lei Xingfeng was also quite surprised. This guy was even fatter, like a small mountain of meat. When they saw him, he was sitting on a boat, cooking food. Seeing Jin Daya, he was very surprised. Of course, he knew that Jin Daya was the Jin family's ancestor. When he saw Lei Xingfeng, he was even more shocked, but then jumped up in joy. Back then, Jin Depan felt that he and Lei Xingfeng had a good rapport, and the two could talk well. He really treated Lei Xingfeng as a friend and eating buddy, especially since Lei Xingfeng had his own unique views on eating. Of course, this was knowledge from his previous life. Seeing Jin Depan, Jin Daya frowned. He said, "Depan, can't you eat less? If you keep getting fatter, how will you fight?" Jin Depan had a helpless expression. He said, "Ancestor, can I not fight? I just like to eat." Lei Xingfeng couldn't help but laugh. He said, "Uncle Jin, don't worry about Depan. If you don't want him to eat, you might as well kill him." Jin Depang nodded fervently. "You should know that my appetite has at least doubled after reaching the 1st ring true ring stage. Double. I can eat a lot more." Jin Daya was so angry that he leaned back. He raised his hand and slapped him. "That's all you've got? F***CK. I even want to find a phone to take you away." Feng Ying's nose twitched. "What's that? Why is it so fragrant?" Jin Depan said proudly, "Grilled fish steak, grilled prawns. Hee, the food here is completely different from the food in Shirong land. I've been here for a long time, and finally found a few ways to eat. Everyone come and try." Seeing Lei Xingfeng, Shi Quan, Hong Chun, and Yin again, Jin Depan was very happy. He didn't even care about Lei Xingfeng's level. He only cared about his friends, so he could cook a lot of food. Eating was like that. When friends came, eating and drinking together was much more fun than eating and drinking alone, so Jin Depan was very happy. Wanxi Continent's fishing industry was very developed, and all kinds of fish were endless. When Jin Depan arrived at Wanxi Continent, other than training, his fun was sitting on the boat and wandering outside. He could catch prawns, turtles, and crabs at any time. These were all his meals. Adding to his high strength, he could catch ferocious fish that the fishermen didn't dare to catch. Jin Depan laughed. Come, try my grilled fish steak, grilled fish fillet, and grilled prawns. Today's a barbecue feast, haha." When it came to food, he immediately became radiant. Everyone couldn't help but laugh. Jin Daya helplessly shook his head. He wasn't against Jin Depan eating, but he was against Jin Depan putting most of his attention on eating. He felt that it would affect his training. He said, "Forget it, if we don't let him eat, we might as well kill him." Jin Depan smiled a little awkwardly and politely invited everyone to sit down. He cut the fish and made the fish steak on the spot, and then let the hired fisherman catch the prawns. This guy was so excited that his face was full of smiles. After Lei Xingfeng sat down, he began to look at the boat. It was a specially made boat. The bow of the boat was very wide, and there was a special stove, as well as a short table. There was even a straw mat on the deck. Jin Depan practically moved the entire kitchen to the bow of the boat, and there were many dried fish and prawns hanging on the side. "This is a standard foodie. There's food everywhere." Jin Depan said, I also have some wine that I brewed myself. Hee hee, this place is rich in rice, and it's very good to use it to brew wine. I bought this recipe at a high price. When it came to eating and drinking, this guy would definitely talk nonstop. Normally, he wouldn't talk so much. The palm-sized fish steak was delicious and tender after being roasted. The most praiseworthy part was the sauce that Jean Dupin made. After the fish steak was roasted and dipped in the special sauce, it tasted very good. Lei Xingfeng took a bite and immediately fell in love with it. He had never eaten such a delicious fish steak, even in his previous life. He couldn't help but praise, "Good." Jean Dia also praised. He admired Jean Dupin's cooking skills very much, and that was why he specially recommended him to Lei Xingfeng. However, he didn't expect that the two of them already knew each other. This was the first time that Mad Eagle and Tiger Love had eaten Jean Dupin's cooking, and they immediately fell in love with it. The two of them couldn't stop praising it. This kind of wonderful taste made the two of them want to swallow their tongues. It was too damn delicious. Like a whirlwind sweeping away the clouds, these practitioners all had big appetites. Even Yin ate more than normal people. On top of a large charcoal brazier, there was a net made of steel wire. On top of the net were fish steaks and prawns. Jean Dupin skillfully flipped them, brushing oil and seasoning from time to time. Once a piece was roasted, he would place it on a plate. Everyone else stared at the plate. Once a piece of fish was placed on the plate, a few pairs of chopsticks would reach over. Anyway, whoever was modest didn't eat. At first, Shi Quan, Hong Chun, and Yin were modest, but they found that something was wrong. Lei Xingfeng, Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love were like the reincarnation of hungry ghosts. Their chopsticks moved very quickly, and Lei Xingfeng didn't even wait for Jean Dupin to place the fish on the plate before snatching halfway. Thus, Shi Quan and the others were no longer modest and fought over the fish steaks and prawns together. Luckily, Jean Dupin's roasting speed was very fast, barely keeping up with everyone's eating speed. However, he didn't have time to eat a single bite. Jean Dupin said, "Right a phone, you guys didn't come here to eat, right?" Chapter 198. Jean Dia said, "It was my decision to come here. A phone is the little master, and I'm a Feng's guard captain. I want to bring you into the hidden sect. What do you think?" Lei Xingfeng smiled at Jean Dupin. Before he could say anything, Mad Eagle said, "Hey, I welcome you. I'm a Feng's guard too. My name is Mad Eagle. You can call me Uncle Ing. Your Uncle Ing is a ninth ring sage." Tiger Love also said, just call me Uncle Tiger. I'm Tiger Love, a ninth ring sage. All right, you're welcome to join us too. Little Fatty's cooking is really good. I like it. No wonder it was said that to please a person, one must first please his stomach, then it would be considered success. As Xi and Feng's two most important guards, they welcomed him, which meant that once Jean Dupin joined, his position would be rather high. Even if he was only a true master with one true ring body, there wouldn't be any problems. Jean Dupin was much calmer than Shi Quan and the others. Perhaps because he already knew Jean Dia was a ninth ring sage. As his companion, he wouldn't be too bad. He said, "I'll join." Lei Xingfeng said, "You're not going to think about it?" Jean Dupin flipped the fish steak and said, "There's nothing to think about. Ancestor already told me about the hidden sect. I just didn't expect him to join. And I also didn't expect a Feng to be a member of the hidden sect." Lei Xingfeng said, "When we met, I hadn't joined the hidden sect yet." Jean Dupin said, "Oh right, where's your old man and little sister?" He was also one of the people who left early. He didn't get into a fight, so he didn't know someone was chasing after them. Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly and said, "We got separated. I'm still looking for them." He gave a simple account of what happened. Even Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love heard about it for the first time. Mad Eagle thought for a moment and said, "Stano? I'm guessing that he's also someone from a secret sect. It's impossible for a large sect to gather so many enlightened masters. Perhaps his status is similar to yours. Perhaps he's the disciple of a true lord." Tiger Love agreed. "Yes, to be able to lead so many enlightened masters, I also think that he must be the disciple of some true monarch." Jean Dia said, "Haha, so domineering. What a pity, an ancient Lun treasure. If there was such an ancient Lun treasure right now, I would also bring people to clear the area. Haha." Lei Xingfeng said, "Yi was very wise. I took a lot and ran away. Back then, there was a friend of Ayez who was caught because he was too greedy. Even if he didn't die, he would be half dead." Jean Dia said, "Yi should be fine. Haha, an 8th ring sage against a 9th ring sage. As long as he doesn't go all out, escaping shouldn't be a problem." Xian Feng spoke. "My grandpa didn't use any support methods. He relied on his own strength to reach the 8th ring." Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love all showed a trace of surprise. To reach 8th ring with his own talent, one could tell that this was an amazing guy. This kind of person had the qualifications to reach the true monarch realm. Mad Eagle said, "That Stano will be troublesome in the future. If your IE becomes a true monarch, haha, this will be fun." Lei Xingfeng said, "I hope so." He knew how difficult it was to become a true monarch, especially since Elder Thunderstorm was heavily injured. He didn't know if he would have a chance to become a true monarch. Jean Depang cleaned the wire netting quickly and said, "Okay, let's eat something else. This thing is too tiring." He barbecued until he lost his confidence. These guys could eat too much. Mad Eagle said, "We're only half full. Barbecue some more." This little guy's cooking is too good." Tiger Love also said, Yeah, make more. I've never eaten such delicious barbecue in my life." Jean Depang smiled and said, "It won't be as good if we keep eating barbecue. I'll make a big pot of lake seafood. Let's have a taste." I believe it won't be worse than barbecue." Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, "Okay, let's eat lake seafood." Jean Depang's cooking was indeed extraordinary. Soon, he made 2 big pots of lake seafood. One was a fish pot, and the other was a shrimp pot. The fish pot was actually a stew in disguise, but it was made of fish and shellfish with all kinds of seasonings. The shrimp pot was more special. It was dry-roasted big shrimps, which sizzled and smelled really good. This meal convinced everyone, and everyone agreed to let Jean Depang join. With such a person around, they could still enjoy good food on the way. No matter how you looked at it, it was a wonderful thing. Naturally, Jean Depang became the most important member of the group. After resting for 2 days, Jean Depang took care of some things. He sold the big ship and bought a lot of ingredients. Most of them were dried fish and shrimps from the lake. He also bought a lot of lotus seeds and water chestnuts. The rice here was very good, especially for brewing wine. Therefore, he bought a lot of food. 2 days later, Lei Xingfeng led the team back. The group quickly entered the secret treasury space. Ishan was Lei Xingfeng's housekeeper. The group arrived at Lei Xingfeng's residence. As they were direct subordinates of Lei Xingfeng, they were assigned rooms in Lei Xingfeng's residence. Ishanel was in charge of the allocation of living and resources. No matter if it was Qi Xian, Hong Chun, Yin, or Jean Depang, after arriving at Lei Xingfeng's residence, they were immediately shocked to the point of feeling inferior. They found that even the attendants in the courtyard were at least 3rd or 4th ring. As for the cultivators with guards, it was impossible for them to be below 5th or 6th ring. It was really a bit scary. Lei Xingfeng ordered. The 4 of them were given enough Luan and Luanine rings to continuously advance. According to Jean Depang, if they didn't advance to 6th ring, they shouldn't go out. With Luan and Luanine rings, when they reached 5th ring, they could use Yin rings to break through to 6th ring. It wasn't a difficult thing, especially with their talent, which could be nurtured with Luan and Luanine rings. Lei Xingfeng returned to his room and began to cultivate. On the way back, he found that his Lei Yin was restless. After a simple inspection, he found that it was the Lei Yin left behind by Elder Thunderstorm. It didn't seem to have been completely digested. There was still something left in his Lei Yin, so he was in a hurry to solve it. Sitting in the room, his body slowly floated up. Countless arcs of electricity jumped around his body. His mind sank into the 9 orifices of Lei Yin. After a few rounds, Lei Xingfeng was shocked to find that there was a ball of lightning entrenched in the 9 orifices. Suddenly, he realized that it was Diangong lightning serum. It was a small ball of Diangong lightning serum obtained from the ancient hidden Luan. Because his strength was low, he didn't treat it at all. It was directly absorbed by Elder Thunderstorm's Lei, so he completely forgot about it. Back then, the old man Lei Bao had said that this Diangong lightning serum was an extremely rare good item, but he wasn't clear about it and didn't understand it. Even if he understood it, he wouldn't be able to use it. Back then, he was only a Milun master, not even a Taoist, if he could use such a high-grade item. After thinking for a moment, Lei Xingfeng temporarily ignored the ball of Diangong lightning serum. This was because he found that his 9 orifices of Lei Yin was slowly absorbing the Diangong lightning serum. Since he didn't know how to use it, strengthening Lei Yin was the best way. Lei Xingfeng needed to explore and use many thunder-type materials himself. Fortunately, the 9 orifices of Lei Yin this time was very strange. It could absorb all kinds of thunder-type materials to strengthen itself. Therefore, he could rest assured that Lei Yin could slowly absorb the Diangong lightning serum, even if he didn't know how to use it. He tried to let the Lei Xingfeng get closer to Lei Yin. Soon, he was pleasantly surprised to find that the two began to communicate with each other, exchanging Lei Yin force. This kind of cultivation allowed Lei Xingfeng's Lei Yin force to quickly purify. Although the growth wasn't fast, the foundation was very solid. A few days later, Lei Xingfeng walked out of his room. Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love were all sitting in the living room chatting. Lei Xingfeng came out and asked, "Fatty and the others are still cultivating?" Jean Dia laughed. Those little guys were stimulated. They're all crazily cultivating in their rooms. That little girl has already become a sage with 1 ring. Her speed isn't bad." Mad Eagle said. "Shiquan is also about to advance. He used 1 Lunine ring a day. He's really working hard." Xi and Feng sighed inwardly. If one wanted to advance naturally in the outside world, it would be extremely difficult, but in the secret sect, advancing was extremely easy, with so many resources to use. Unless one's aptitude was so bad that it made one despair, one would at least be able to advance to the 3rd or 4th true ring body, and even if one's aptitude was bad, advancing to the 1st true ring body was still possible. Tiger Love said, "I don't dare say that they can reach 9 rings, but reaching 6 rings shouldn't be a problem. It mainly depends on whether or not a Feng has enough resources to help them." Jean Dias said, "Would a Feng lack resources?" From what I know, a Feng earned a lot from the trip to Hanya Castle. No one could deny this. Just the minerals and materials the 4 of them had collected were enough to trade for a large number of Yin rings. After all, the 3 of them were at the level of guard captain. They already had enough Yin rings to prolong their lives, which made them very loyal. Lei Xingfeng said, "Did anything happen in the next few days?" Mad Eagle said, "Yes, 3rd Elder wants you to go." Lei Xingfeng asked, "What's the matter?" He was very close to Xi and Jiaoluan. He didn't have much contact with the other apprentice brothers. The only thing he knew were a few apprentice sisters. Mad Eagle said, "The Elder is back." Lei Xingfeng paused and said, "What Elder?" Tiger Love laughed and said, "Your eldest apprentice brother. We usually call him Elder, Lei Xingfeng said, "Okay, let's go. I haven't seen my eldest apprentice brother yet." He knew that his eldest apprentice brother was called Feng Qinzong. He was very strong. Although he wasn't a monarch, he was the strongest of the 9 apprentice brothers and apprentice sisters. Jean Dias said, "I'll stay at home. I won't go." Lei Xingfeng nodded and led Mad Eagle and Tiger Love to Xi and Jiaoluan's residence. The 2 residences were very close, so it didn't take long to get there. Chapter 199. When Lei Xingfeng saw Feng Qinzong for the first time, he was a little surprised. He could see that Feng Qinzong's face was already that of a young man, but his white hair hadn't changed. Even his eyebrows and beard were as white as snow. His eyes were sharp to the extreme, as dark as the abyss. "Is this 9th junior brother?" Feng Qinzong smiled and stood up to greet him. Xi and Jiaoluan also came up to greet him. "A Feng, come greet eldest senior brother." "Hello, eldest senior brother," Lei Xingfeng said. I am Lei Xingfeng. Good, a phone. I'll call you a phone. You don't have any objections, do you? Haha, Feng Qinzong said. No objections, Lei Xingfeng said. Just call me a phone. It sounds more intimate. No matter what, Feng Qinzong was the eldest senior brother of this hidden sect. In the sect, his status was only slightly lower than the master and master's wife. He had a lot of prestige in the sect. Just by looking at Xian Jialuan's attitude, it was clear that Xian Jialuan respected Feng Qinzong a lot. Feng Qinzong said casually, Okay, a phone, come sit. Lei Xingfeng sat. Mad Eagle and Tiger Love bowed. The two retreated outside. There was no danger here. When the three brothers talked, the guards didn't need to listen. The three sat down. Feng Qinzong said, Are you used to living here? As the eldest senior brother, he had to act like he cared. He knew that the master and founder doted on this disciple. He couldn't put on the airs of an eldest senior brother. Lei Xingfeng smiled. It's good here. I'm used to it. Feng Qinzong smiled and nodded. Lei Xingfeng pondered. He felt that the eldest senior brother didn't just want to get to know him. There must be something else. Sure enough, after some small talk, Feng Qinzong smiled and asked, A phone, have you seen this before? He took out a stone egg about the size of a chicken egg and handed it to Lei Xingfeng. The stone egg was oval-shaped, very similar to a chicken egg, but the color was different. It was a light green stone. Lei Xingfeng took it. The stone egg suddenly split in half. Lei Xingfeng said, Qinzong. Feng Qinzong said, That's right, it's cracked. Something in the middle has been taken away. This thing, Feng Qinzong. No, it's naturally formed. There used to be a crystal inside, a hexagonal, cylindrical crystal. It's been taken away. Lei Xingfeng looked at it. The crystal was about the length of a finger bone and as thick as a date pit. He didn't know what kind of crystal it was. What is this? He asked. Feng Qinzong said, Dijuan liquid crystal, a rare treasure. Xian Feng had never heard of such a thing before. He spoke, Purigen liquid crystal? What's that? Xian Jiaoluan. Sky crystal, Saint crystal. There are many names, but the real name is Dijuan liquid crystal. Lei Xingfeng played with the stone egg. What's the use of it? He already understood. The eldest senior brother probably wanted him to help find this Dijuan liquid crystal. Feng Qinzong said, This thing is too rare. It's almost impossible to find. This time it's different. Someone found this thing. Haha, as for the use of Dijuan liquid crystal, do you know? Third junior brother and I have both reached the peak of 9th ring and can't continue to advance. In fact, it's not that we can't advance, but that we don't dare to take the risk. The chance of advancing is too small. We need to increase the chance, so this thing is very important. Lei Xingfeng was shocked. What? Sky crystal can increase the chance of advancing? Xian Jialuan said, That's right. It can increase the chance by 40%. In other words, if we originally had a 20% to 30% chance of advancing, then with a 40% increase, we have a 60% chance of advancing. This will greatly increase our chances of advancing. Lei Xingfeng said, Holy shit, there's such a good thing. He was immediately tempted. No matter what, he had to get one for himself. Xian Jiaoluan nodded. Yes, there is such a treasure. This thing is priceless in the world, and it can't be found. Lei Xingfeng put the stone egg on the table. Where did you get this stone egg? Feng Qinzong thought that Lei Xingfeng was smart. He immediately asked the key question. An old friend of mine found it. He used it to advance to Monarch. He also told me where he found this stone egg. Lei Xingfeng said, Did you go? Feng Qinzong nodded. I stayed there on and off for 17 years. I had to come back disappointed. Lei Xingfeng asked curiously, You dug for 17 years? Feng Qinzong said, Not digging, but picking. I didn't pick up a single one. The time I spent picking up was about 17 years, until I lost all hope. A trace of bitterness appeared on his face. Lei Xingfeng said, Are there many people who know about that place? Feng Qinzong smiled bitterly. The news has spread recently. Many people are preparing to go, so I had to come back to ask for help. Lei Xingfeng was secretly shocked. At the same time, he had some complaints about Feng Qinzong. You've been there for 17 years and didn't tell anyone at all. You only came back when you were in despair. Isn't that too selfish? But after thinking about it, he understood. With Feng Shinzong's identity as the eldest disciple, it's natural for him to want to be the first to advance to monarch. Xi and Jiaoluan said, if a large number of people go, it'll be even harder to find. Feng Shinzong smiled bitterly. It's because I don't have the ability. I originally thought that if I spent a few more years to find more sky crystals, maybe we could all advance. Unfortunately, I'm useless. After searching for so long, I still haven't found a single one. My luck is too bad. Xi and Jiaoluan said, compared to a Feng's luck, this is far worse. Feng Shinzong said, isn't that so? I heard you say that we can get so many ores and treasures from Hanyu Castle. I was wondering if I could ask a Feng to help me. Maybe I could borrow some luck. Xi and Feng almost laughed out loud. What kind of luck was this? An excuse turned into a huge reason. However, he was very proud of himself. If it wasn't for this, why would Feng Shinzong come looking for him? Without Feng Shinzong, Lei Xingfeng wouldn't even know what a sky crystal was, let alone find Diju and liquid crystal. Taking this opportunity to get a few pieces of sky crystal for fun wasn't a bad idea. In fact, he really wanted to get his hands on a sky crystal. What a joke, this thing was absolutely heaven-defying. After Feng Shinzong finished speaking, he stared at Lei Xingfeng, afraid that he would refuse. Lei Xingfeng laughed. No problem. I'll lend you as much luck as you want. Ha! He joked. Feng Shinzong laughed. Then it's settled. This time you'll come with me to find sky crystals. Lei Xingfeng said straightforwardly, no problem. I'll go with you. Feng Shinzong was very satisfied. His impression of Lei Xingfeng was very good. Xin, Jiaoluan laughed. Senior brother, you don't mind me going with you, right? Feng Shinzong said generously. Why would I object? Of course you have to go. Ha! This time I'll bring more people. That place is too big. We can't have too few people. Lei Xingfeng said, I'll bring 3 people. Is that okay? Feng Shinzong agreed. Sure. Are you planning on bringing 3 guards? Lei Xingfeng giggled. I'm a coward. I need someone to protect me. Otherwise, I'll be scared. Feng Shinzong suddenly laughed. You're a 7th ring sage, and you have a strong lightning attribute. Haha. Even a normal 9th ring sage might not be able to hurt you. What are you afraid of? Lei Xingfeng smiled, but didn't say anything. Feng Shinzong said, don't worry. As long as I'm here, I can definitely protect you. Of course, if you want to bring 3 guards, that's not a problem. Xi and Jiaoluan said, yes, I want to bring a few people too. Maybe there'll be more chances. Feng Shinzong didn't object. He was afraid that there wouldn't be enough, and he wasn't afraid that someone else would get it. For example, even if Lei Xingfeng's guards got it, he still had a chance to get it. It was better than nothing. This was something he realized when he was looking for sky crystals. Lei Xingfeng said, where do we go to dig? No, pick it up. Ha! Where can we find sky crystals? Feng Shinzong said, it's not in this world. We need to go through Master's secret door. Lei Xingfeng's spirit was suddenly lifted. He liked the outside world. The last time he went to Hanyu Castle, he almost froze to death, but he was very happy with the harvest. He even made a few friends, especially Song Yao, who was a monarch. Lei Xingfeng also knew that as he ascended a 9th ring, he would need a lot of connections and friends. At that time, he would also constantly enter the outside world to find things he needed. That world, is there anything special about it? Feng Shinzong said, it's very special. There are no natives there, only outsiders. It's a battlefield. Lei Xingfeng was surprised. What? A battlefield? Feng Shinzong said, yes, it's a battlefield. People call it the Great Stone Field. Xi and Jiaoluan was also a bit surprised. He had obviously heard of this place before. He said, this Great Stone Field, is it the infamous Slaughter Field? Feng Shinzong nodded. Yes, it requires a strong self-control. That place is very strange. You can't help but want to kill. Lei Xingfeng suddenly became nervous. He said, will they kill each other? If they will, I won't dare to bring people. He couldn't accept killing his own people no matter what. He would rather not go than do it. Feng Shinzong laughed. Don't be so nervous. Although there are dangers, it's not as serious as you think. Chapter 200. Lei Xingfeng said, "The Great Stone Fields slaughter field sounds very chaotic. Are there a lot of outsiders there?" Feng Qinzong said, "There aren't that many outsiders, but if the news gets out that there are sky crystals there, there will definitely be a lot of people. There will probably be a lot of monarchs there too." Xi and Jialuan said, "If monarchs go, we won't be able to survive." Feng Qinzong said, "It's fine. If monarchs go, their strength will be suppressed and they won't be able to act recklessly. Don't worry, there are a lot fewer monarchs than sages, so it's very difficult to meet them. But we have to pay attention to those 8th and 9th ring sages. They're the main force going in." Lei Xingfeng said, "Then will they kill each other?" He was very concerned about this. He was afraid that if he brought people there, they would end up killing each other. That would be too scary. Xi and Jialuan said, "That's not the concept. People on the same side won't kill each other." How do I explain it to you?" He thought for a moment and said, "Let's put it this way. If you have a bad feeling about someone, then in the Great Stone Fields, that bad feeling will be magnified until you can't control yourself and start killing. If the two parties don't have any bad feelings, then there won't be any killing." Lei Xingfeng immediately understood. He said, "So that's how it is. If I have killing intent towards someone, I can control it elsewhere. But in the Great Stone Fields, that killing intent will be magnified, and in the end, it will cause me to attack directly." "Is that what you mean?" Feng Qinzong clapped and said, "That's right. That's it." Lei Xingfeng said, "Then it will also cause people to kill each other." If a few people in a group have conflicts, won't that conflict be magnified and then lead to conflict? In the end, it will become a situation where people kill each other. Feng Qinzong smiled. "That's right. This is also a hidden danger. If you're not confident, don't bring someone with a conflict." Lei Xingfeng suddenly understood why Feng Qinzong only invited Xi and Jialuan to go with him. He was a new junior brother and had no contact with Feng Qinzong, so there was no conflict. Xi and Jialuan must have a good relationship with Feng Qinzong to be invited. In other words, Feng Qinzong had confidence in his two juniors. Lei Xingfeng said, "All right, I'll bring the 3 of them." He had a thought in his mind. If the 3 of them had any bad opinions or ideas about him, he would be able to discover them under such a perverted situation. Feng Qinzong said, "Get ready and we'll go." "Right, prepare more food and water. That place is very barren and there are very few sources of food." Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly. The last time he went to Hanya Castle, it was also a place where food was scarce. This time, he even had to prepare his own water. He nodded. "All right, I'll go back and prepare. We'll come back tomorrow." One day was enough for him to prepare. Lei Xingfeng said goodbye and brought Mad Eagle and Tiger Love back home. When they returned to the living room, Jean Dia greeted them. "A phone. Did something good happen?" Lei Xingfeng smiled. "Yes." Jean Dia immediately smiled. "What good thing? Do you have a share for me?" Lei Xingfeng said, "Yes." Mad Eagle and Tiger Love also asked, "What about us? Do you have a share for us?" Lei Xingfeng still said straightforwardly, "Yes." After a while, the 3 of them reacted. Mad Eagle said, "A phone, what's the good news?" Lei Xingfeng said, "Good news." Jean Dia smiled. "All right, a phone, stop teasing us. Tell us, what's the good news?" Lei Xingfeng smiled. "We're going to the outer world." The reason Jean Dia joined Lei Xingfeng's hidden sect was because he had the opportunity to go to the outer world. If he wanted to go by himself, he would have to pay a high price. There were many benefits to going to the outer world, mainly to obtain various resources and materials. These resources and materials were mostly needed by monarchs. The resources a monarch consumed were frightening, so he needed a large number of helpers to search for them. If a 9th ring sage didn't have the help of a monarch, he could only move around in one world. It was impossible for him to obtain rings to extend his life. Even if he did get a few rings, it wouldn't help him. He wouldn't be able to live for long. A 9th ring sage's natural lifespan, if there were no accidents, was about 900 to 1,000 years old. When that time came, they would die naturally. Moreover, a ninth ring sage's strength would slowly decline at 600 years old. By the time they died, they might not even be able to defeat a sixth ring sage. In order to maintain their peak condition, they needed rings. If they wanted to extend their life, they also needed rings. For a ninth ring sage, rings were a priceless treasure that could preserve their strength and extend their life. Fortunately, even though there weren't many rings, there were always monarchs who could condense them. Therefore, for the sake of rings, a ninth ring sage's final choice was to join a hidden sect with a monarch. Jean Dia was the same. He joined Lei Xingfeng's team of guards to obtain more rings. Ah, that's great. Can I go this time? Jean Dia asked expectantly. One had to know that bringing someone into the outer world came with a price. It wasn't something that could be done just because one wanted to. Lei Xingfeng smiled. All three of you will go, haha. However, we need to prepare food and water immediately. Everyone needs to stock up. The place we're going to this time is said to have even less food than Hanyu Castle. Especially since there's a shortage of water, we need to prepare more water. Jean Dia asked, what kind of place is it? Why would there be a shortage of water? Lei Xingfeng didn't say the name of the great stone quarry because he knew that Feng Qinzong had blocked the guards outside because he didn't want to tell them. They would know when they arrived. Lei Xingfeng had always been quick to react, so he didn't mention the location. He said, I don't know either. It was eldest senior brother who ordered us to prepare it. Jean Dia nodded. I'll go find Steward AI and have him prepare the food. Mad Eagle asked, should we bring Fatty? Tiger Love said, yeah. Why don't we bring Fatty? With him around, we'll be able to eat better. Huh. Lei Xingfeng hesitated. He's already on the verge of breaking through. If he works hard, he'll be able to break through in a few months. Bringing him out will only affect him. Actually, he also wanted to bring Fatty along. Jean Depang's cooking was too good. After getting used to the food he cooked, eating something else would be a terrible feeling. Mad Eagle said, it's fine. With the help of the Luan rings, it won't affect his advancement. Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly and said, Uncle Ing, actually I also want to bring him along. But the place we're going to is very dangerous. He's not strong enough. If we bring him along for the sake of food and end up harming him, then the gains won't make up for the losses. Mad Eagle and Tiger Love immediately stopped talking. They didn't want to cause Jean Depang's death for the sake of food. Mad Eagle said, all right, let Fatty prepare the food for us. Mother Asterisker, even if Fatty prepares the food, it'll still be better than the food I cook. Lei Xingfeng laughed. Fatty is gifted. Haha, he's already eating. We're just basking in his glory. Ishmael followed Jean Dia into the room. He said, the food will be ready tonight. The water will be ready too. This was the steward's job, and he did it very well. Lei Xingfeng said, let Jean Depang go. They'll help us organize the food. We all like to eat the food he makes. Ishmael agreed and went out. The next day, Lei Xingfeng brought Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love to Exine Jiaolun's residence. This time, Exine Jiaolun brought 6 people. They were all ninth ring sages. Including Lei Xingfeng's group, there were 11 people in total. Not long after, Feng Qinzong came over. He was still alone. He said, I'm alone. I originally wanted to bring a few people, but after thinking about it, it's a bit too many. Just us. If we bring more people, Master won't be happy. Ha! The group arrived at Gucci's residence. Gucci said, Zong, are you ready? Feng Qinzong nodded. I'll bring 3rd junior brother and 9th junior brother. Gucci nodded. Yes. A Feng knows how to mine. A Feng. I didn't expect your luck to be so good. When you come back, Master wants to exchange something with you. Lei Xingfeng smiled. Master, what kind of, or do you want? Gucci said, when you come back, I want a few things. It's fine. I won't let you lose out. Lei Xingfeng said, Master, as long as I have it, there's no problem. There's no need to exchange. Gucci smiled and patted him. Master won't take advantage of you. Don't worry. You have to be careful this time. When you go to the Great Stone Fields, you have to guard your mind. Don't let your imagination run wild. That place is a bit evil. Lei Xingfeng said, it's fine. We're ready. Gucci said, Azong, don't stay there for too long. If you can't find it, come back. I heard the news has spread. Many monarchs have sent their disciples there. It will be very chaotic there. Plus, the great stone fields are very evil. The possibility of conflict is high. Remember, once you attack, don't show mercy. You have to be careful. Feng Qinzong said, I know. Those who know about this will probably go crazy. This time we have to kill. As expected of the slaughter field. Gucci sighed. This thing is too important to you. Even I want to go and take a look, but I don't have time. Exivaloin said, Master, don't worry. With the phone there, haha, I think our luck will be very good. He was a bit superstitious about Lei Xingfeng in Hanyu Castle. Lei Xingfeng could find things that others couldn't. Lei Xingfeng could find 3 or 4 pieces of, or when others dug out one. It was simply incomprehensible luck. Gucci said, a phone. If you're so lucky this time, a master will take you to a good place next time. Immediately, Feng Qinzong and Xian Zhaolun showed an extremely envious expression. There was a price to pay for using a secret door. The better the place, the higher the price. The most common place could be entered with the yin ring, but the better places required a lot of special materials. Therefore, even monarchs weren't willing to open a secret door carelessly. Chapter 201. Plus, the more people there were, the higher the cost. This was why the number of people was limited. This time, there were 12 people. Gucci had to pay a sum of yin rings, but Feng Qinzong had to pay him back with materials. Some perfected lords were able to earn quite a lot of materials by using their secret doors. Song Yao was one such example. He was alone, but he was able to live quite comfortably. He could earn quite a lot by using his secret doors. Sometimes, he could even cooperate with large sects and enter some ordinary worlds to collect materials that he needed. Gucci led the group to the hidden door. There were a few types of hidden doors. The first type was the fixed hidden door. It used the special characteristics of the hidden door to save a lot of yin rings and materials. It was the best type of hidden door. The only downside was that it couldn't be carried around. If there was a fixed hidden door, there would be a subsidiary hidden door that could be used with the owner of the hidden door. There was another type of hidden door that could be stored inside the body. This type of hidden door had a lot of limitations. There were many places that couldn't be entered. Most people who had just reached Monarch would choose this type of hidden door. There was no other reason other than that it cost less materials and was easier to make. Also, it was convenient to carry around. Xi and Jeloin prepared the materials to make this type of hidden door. Opening a hidden door wasn't hard, especially in an ordinary place like this. Gucci quickly opened the hidden door and said, "Let's go quickly. Don't stay there for too long." Under Feng Qinzong's lead, the group quickly entered the hidden door. Entering various worlds through secret doors was the greatest reliance of cultivators. They relied on their valiant strength to run amok in various worlds. Of course, if there were more powerful races or beasts in that world, they would also suffer heavy losses. However, for the sake of resources, they still continued to enter various unfamiliar worlds. According to Lei Xingfeng's understanding, the so-called worlds here were different from the ones in his previous world. But he was too lazy to dwell on it. It was fine as long as he could enter and use these worlds. He wasn't a scientist. He didn't need to know the reason for everything. Stepping onto the ground of the great stone field, Lei Xingfeng said in surprise, "What the F***CK? No wonder." The ground was littered with stone eggs. The stone eggs that Feng Qinzong took out last time were everywhere, stretching as far as the eye could see. The ground was covered with stone eggs of all sizes. The largest was the size of a goose egg, while the smallest was the size of a quail egg. There were all kinds of colors. It was truly a colorful scene. After a long while, Lei Xingfeng pointed to the ground and said, "Senior brother, this." He didn't know what to say. Feng Qinzong bitterly smiled. "Do you understand now? That thing is in these stone eggs, but there are trillions of stone eggs here. Who knows which one has it?" Lei Xingfeng suddenly understood why Feng Qinzong hadn't found a single sky crystal after searching for 17 years. He also understood why eldest senior brother said to pick them up and not dig them up. Yes, they were all over the place, but was there anything more difficult than picking up a stone egg with a sky crystal? Xi and Jaloin was also dumbfounded. He said, "How are we supposed to do this? Let alone in a short period of time. Even if we stay here for 80 to 80 years, we might not succeed. This is purely based on luck." Feng Shenzong said, "Yeah, that's why I invited a Feng here. Since a Feng's luck is good, I won't be satisfied if I don't come." Lei Xingfeng said, "These stone eggs, you have to crack open every single one? Otherwise, how do you know there's something inside?" Feng Shenzong said, "That's right. If you think there's something, then crack it open and see." He sighed in his heart. He had cracked open countless stone eggs here, but he didn't find a single sky crystal. The stone egg that he showed Lei Xingfeng was traded from somewhere else to study what kind of stone egg the sky crystal should be in, but it was still useless. Everyone was dumbfounded. No matter how many people came, they wouldn't be able to find a sky crystal. There were so many stone eggs. Finding one with a sky crystal inside was harder than finding a needle in a haystack. Everyone's expression was a bit ugly. Feng Shenzong could only comfort them. "Let's just try our luck. It's normal if we can't find one. Haha, don't feel pressured." Xi and Jaloin reached out and picked up a stone egg. He said, "This stone seems to be a material too, right?" Feng Shenzong said, "This material? Haha, it's just ordinary jade. There's nothing special about it. It can only be used to carve some small ornaments. Those are things that ordinary people like. For us cultivators, it's useless." Then Feng Shenzong explained what they were looking for. When he said the words Dijuan liquid crystal, the guards were shocked. This was something from the legends. Even if these guards relied on rings to reach 9th ring, and even if they didn't have a 10% chance of reaching Monarch with a 40% chance, if they were lucky, they could reach Monarch. Then they would be rich. After Feng Shenzong's explanation, everyone knew what they were looking for. Immediately, their dejected mood was swept away, and they were all excited. Feng Shenzong couldn't help but smile bitterly. When he first found out that there were sky crystals here, he was also excited. After so many years, he had become numb. He had been busy for so many years and hadn't found a single sky crystal. According to his estimation, the probability of finding a sky crystal was 1 in 10 million, or even 1 in 100 million. This was a near hopeless estimation. The only reason he brought people here was because he hadn't completely given up. Feng Shenzong said, "There are a few characteristics that everyone should pay attention to. First, stone eggs that contain sky crystals should be heavier than other stone eggs. Second, stone eggs that contain sky crystals shouldn't be too big or too small. They should be about this big." He picked up a stone egg the size of a chicken egg and showed it to everyone. Also, stone eggs that contain sky crystals usually don't have bright colors. Most of them are greenish-gray, white-gray, or purple-gray. Everyone should pay attention when picking them up. Lastly, and most importantly, after the stone egg cracks, if there is a sky crystal, there will be fluctuations. At that time, you should pay attention to your defenses. Someone will come to steal it. Lei Xingfeng understood that this was Feng Shenzong's conclusion over the years. He must have gathered a lot of information, or else he wouldn't have said this. But in his heart, he didn't care at all. If this information was useful, at least eldest senior brother should be able to get a sky crystal. Since he didn't get a single one, this experience was useless. Although Jean Dia was a little excited, he understood that sky crystals weren't easy to find. Otherwise, it wouldn't be their turn to look for them. Feng Shenzong said, "Let's spread out and search separately. If you think that a stone egg you find might contain a sky crystal, then you can just pinch it open." "Haha, I hope someone has better luck." Everyone agreed. Then Feng Shenzong said seriously, "No matter who it is, the first sky crystal you find, you must give it to me. Of course, I won't take it for free. I will use all kinds of things to trade, but you're not allowed to keep it for yourself. If I find out that someone has done this, then they will be my enemy for life. Also, once the stone egg cracks, if there is a sky crystal inside, there is no way to hide it." Xi and Zhaoluan said, "Did everyone hear that? If you find one, then take it out." Lei Xingfeng also said, eldest senior brother, don't worry. If we find one, we'll give it to you. He didn't want to offend Feng Qinzong here. Plus, he had confidence in himself. If he could find one sky crystal, he was confident that he could find 10. He believed that his eyes would be able to find a different stone egg. Feng Qinzong nodded in satisfaction. Lei Xingfeng's attitude made him even more satisfied. Lei Xingfeng stayed for a while and found that this place was very hot and dry. There were only stone eggs as far as the eye could see. There were no plants or animals. It was really desolate. After changing into a pair of thin clothes, Lei Xingfeng took out the frost pearl. Immediately, wisps of mist floated out from the frost pearl. Lei Xingfeng laughed. The Zesh frost pearl is still useful, haha. Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love all took out frost pearls and hung them around their necks. Immediately, they felt refreshed. The most gratifying thing was that the frost pearl actually reduced the anxiety in their hearts to nothing. Lei Xingfeng immediately knew that the frost pearl could suppress the desire to kill. Xiangeluan also took out a frost pearl and hung it around his neck. Feng Qinzong asked, "Did you get this from Hanya Castle?" Lei Xingfeng laughed. "Yeah, we hunted a lot of Zesh back then. Everyone got one. I feel much cooler after hanging it up. It's really hot here." Feng Qinzong nodded. "Not bad. All right, everyone spread out and look. Let's see how lucky we are." Everyone spread out in a line and started looking for the sky crystals. At first, everyone was very confident. Other than Lei Xingfeng, everyone else was a ninth ring expert. They held the stone eggs in their hands and crushed them with a light pinch. After dozens of stone eggs were crushed, everyone felt dizzy. There was nothing at all. Other than rocks, more rocks. Where was the sky crystal? Lei Xingfeng was alone. On his left was Mad Eagle, who was about 100 meters away. On his right was Tiger Love, and then Jean Dia. They were all about 100 meters away. Everyone had their heads down. From time to time, they would bend down to pick up a stone egg and crush it. Then, they would continue searching. After walking for about a kilometer, everyone felt that their hopes were dwindling. After crushing a few stone eggs, Lei Xingfeng stopped picking them up. He just kept staring at the stone eggs, trying to find something different. He knew that his eyes were powerful. Once he found something different, it was very likely that a sky crystal would appear. He was much more confident than Feng Qinzong. Chapter 202. Because there were too many stone eggs, they were densely packed. Even if there was something special, it would be covered up. This gave Lei Xingfeng a headache. Lei Xingfeng walked for about a kilometer. Like the others, he was also dizzy. He couldn't help but secretly admire his senior brother. He had the patience to torment himself here for 17 years. Although it was intermittent, Lei Xingfeng felt that he couldn't stand it after walking for a kilometer. This place was simply not a place for people to live. Sitting down, Lei Xingfeng found that the stone eggs were boiling hot. If he wasn't a cultivator, his skin would probably be scalded off. However, his skin didn't care about these boiling hot stone eggs at all. Instead, he felt abnormally comfortable, coupled with the cold bead on his chest. He even wanted to sleep, under the temptation of the sky crystal. Everyone except Lei Xingfeng was working hard to search. Lei Xingfeng rolled on the stone eggs. It felt very comfortable, as if someone was massaging him. Lei Xingfeng closed his eyes and moaned comfortably. Suddenly, he heard a sound beside his ear. He opened his eyes and saw Xiangeluan's big face in front of him. He was so scared that he screamed, "Oh, senior brother, you scare me to death." Xiangeluan said with a face full of smiles, "A phone, did you find it?" Lei Xingfeng suddenly said with a bitter face, "Senior brother, look at the stone eggs all over the ground. Even if there is one in 10,000, we might be lucky enough to find one or two. But if there's one in 10 million, there is basically no chance. I just walked such a short distance, and my head is already dizzy and my eyes are blurred. Not to mention the sky crystal, even my eyes are going blind." Xiangeluan couldn't help but smile bitterly. He said, "I didn't know it was like this. No wonder senior brother can't do anything." Lei Xingfeng said, "Yeah, if it's mining, there's still some confidence. But if it's picking up rocks, there's really no way. Feng Shenzong had been paying attention to Lei Xingfeng. When he saw Xian Jiaolan fly over, he couldn't help but fly over. How is it? Is there any hope? Lei Xingfeng said, Eldest senior brother, it's not that I want to discourage you, but it's really difficult to find a sky crystal in this ground full of stones. Feng Shenzong said, No matter how hard it is, we still have to search. Let's continue. He flew back to his position and continued his search. Lei Xingfeng said, Third senior brother, you should go too. I'll take my time looking. It's really a matter of luck. Xian Jiaolan nodded. Okay. Haha, a phone actually, I'm already in despair. His voice suddenly lowered at the last sentence. Lei Xingfeng laughed and whispered, Senior brother, I'm the same. I don't understand why there are so many stone eggs, and they're all about the same size. It's like they're all made by hand. Xian Jiaolan glanced over and couldn't help but say, Isn't that so? What a strange place. Forget it. This time we're helping eldest senior brother. Let's do our best. He lowered his voice and said, In the sect, with eldest senior brother's help, a lot of things are easy to do, especially using the hidden door. Lei Xingfeng nodded. Xian Jiaolan flew back to his position and continued his search for sky crystals. As they advanced, they searched for an entire day. Everyone crushed thousands upon thousands of stone eggs, but no one could find the heavenly crystal. Lei Xingfeng took out his water skin and drank a mouthful of water. Looking at the sky gradually darkening, he shouted, Where do we rest tonight? This place was very spacious, so his voice could travel very far. Feng Shenzong flew into the air and shouted, Okay, that's it for today. Everyone, follow me. Everyone flew up and quickly gathered around Feng Shenzong. Feng Shenzong asked, Did you find anything today? Everyone shook their heads. Feng Shenzong sighed and said, Follow me. There's a stone platform over there. We'll set up camp there. After flying for about half an hour, everyone saw a protruding, irregular stone platform. It was about 100 square meters and about a meter above the ground. Although it was uneven, it was still better than the stone eggs on the ground. This time, they didn't make a fire. Instead, they took some dry food and ate a little. Everyone sat down and began to cultivate. This was everyone's habit. Lei Xingfeng didn't cultivate. He was thinking about how to find a sky crystal. In fact, he wasn't desperate. He just couldn't find a way to identify the stone eggs. He firmly believed that with so many stone eggs, it was impossible to find a sky crystal. If he could find a secret, he might be able to get more than one sky crystal. This was the secret in his heart. If he could find the secret, he wouldn't mind giving Feng Shenzong and Xian Jiaolan a sky crystal. Once he found the secret of the sky crystal in the stone eggs, Lei Xingfeng believed that with his ability, he could definitely find a few sky crystals. Lei Xingfeng pondered. Every time he found a mine, he would see a different light. Some were weak, some were strong. But every time he saw this kind of light, he would be able to find the ore smoothly. Sky crystal was also a type of ore. He didn't believe that there wouldn't be any light. What affected his observation was the light and the color of the stone eggs. Under the strong light, the stone eggs were colorful, so the light would be hidden. No matter how good Lei Xingfeng's eyesight was, he couldn't see it. All he could see was a colorful light. If he wanted to avoid being disturbed by this light, Lei Xingfeng would have to overcome this difficulty. Xian Feng looked at the starry sky and thought to himself, Woo, I wonder if I'll be able to see any light at night. It's not too dark yet. With the light of the stars, perhaps I'll be able to see something different. He immediately stood up and walked out of the stone platform. Feng Shenzong was still paying attention to Lei Xingfeng. Seeing him walk out, he immediately went up and asked, Feng, what are you going to do? Lei Xingfeng said, I'm going to walk around outside. I don't want to give up. I want to see how my luck is. Feng Shenzong nodded, pleased. Go ahead. Of course, he was happy that someone couldn't even sleep to help him find sky crystals. This made his impression of Lei Xingfeng a little better. Lei Xingfeng flew for a while before landing. He didn't want to search near the stone platform. Squinting his eyes, he looked at the big stone field again. Suddenly, he saw a different scene. The ground wasn't dark. Under the starlight, the ground was greenish-gray. The stone eggs on the ground had lost their color. Lei Xingfeng walked, observing carefully. After walking for over 1,000 meters, suddenly, a silver light flashed at the corner of Xinfeng's eyes. He immediately turned around to look, but he didn't discover anything. However, after knowing that there was a strange phenomenon, he stood still and moved his head back and forth. As expected, another silver light flashed at the corner of Xinfeng's eyes. Lei Xingfeng's heart began to beat wildly. Could it be the light from sky crystals? I must stay calm, Lei Xingfeng reminded himself. He then moved his head back and forth again. Sure enough, after a few times, he saw another flash of silver in the corner of his eye. After confirming the location, he turned around and slowly walked in the direction of the silver flash. Lei Xingfeng walked extremely slowly. His eyes were fixed on the stone eggs on the ground. He was highly focused. When he arrived at the location of the silver flash, there was a field of stone eggs. None of them were glowing, but Lei Xingfeng was already confident. He threw the stone eggs one by one. After throwing out a few dozen, he saw a stone egg that was different from the rest. It was an inconspicuous light gray stone, similar to Feng Chunzong's cracked stone egg. The only difference was that Feng Chunzong's stone egg was greenish-gray, while this one was gray. It was inconspicuous, but it glowed with a faint silver light. Xinfeng knew that he had struck gold. He carefully picked up the stone egg. After hesitating for a moment, he didn't pinch it open. In fact, pinching it open was out of helplessness. No one knew which stone egg had something inside. He could only use brute force to pinch it open. If he didn't control his strength well, it was possible that he would crush the sky crystal. The best way was to grind it open. However, the prerequisite was that you knew there was something inside. Otherwise, no one would be able to withstand it. How could he grind it open? He put the stone egg into his hidden Luan space and carefully marked it so that he wouldn't forget. Lei Xingfeng then began to search again. He wasn't sure if there was a sky crystal in the stone egg, but he was sure that there was something inside. As for what it was, he would have to open it to see. At this time, Lei Xingfeng realized the problem. If there was something inside the stone egg, it might be buried in the middle or under the stone egg. He wouldn't be able to see it from the surface. As soon as he thought of it, Xinfeng activated the chaos wheel and smashed it into the ground, causing countless stone eggs to fly in all directions, and a 7 to 8 meter deep hole appeared on the ground. Xinfeng had controlled his strength for this attack. Only using 20% of it, he was very satisfied with the chaos wheel's attack. At this time, Lei Xingfeng discovered that there were even more stone eggs underground. Even at a depth of 7 to 8 meters, it was still all stone eggs. He couldn't see the soil or rock at the bottom. After the attack, Lei Xingfeng began to carefully search for the flickering silver light. Lei Xingfeng sighed. There was no light. In other words, this attack didn't produce anything. Fortunately, Lei Xingfeng understood that if there were a lot of sky crystals, Feng Chunzong wouldn't have wandered around for 17 years without finding anything. Boom! After flying out 10 meters, Lei Xingfeng made a second attack. Suddenly, he saw a silver light fly out. Lei Xingfeng was overjoyed. His body flashed, and he put the glowing silver stone egg into his hidden Luan space. He wouldn't open it now anyway. He put it into his hidden Luan space first. He would look at it later. Even if there wasn't anything, it wouldn't be a big deal. He couldn't find anything in the first place. If there were sky crystals, then he'd be rich. Lei Xingfeng attacked a few more times. Many large holes appeared in the ground. However, he didn't find anything this time except for the 2 stone eggs he got last time. When Lei Xingfeng attacked the ground again, Feng Chunzong, Hekelin, Jin Daya, and the others all rushed over. Xian Zhaolun shouted, "A Feng, who are you fighting?" Chapter 203. The group flew to Lei Xingfeng's side. When they saw the pits below, they were all stunned. Lei Xingfeng smiled. "I just want to see what was down there. Maybe we can find a sky crystal. If you encounter an enemy, send out a warning signal. That way, we won't misunderstand," Feng Chunzong said. Lei Xingfeng said, "Eldest senior brother, I plan to search at night. It's too hot during the day, so I'm too lazy to move. Feng Qinzong smiled. That doesn't matter. Day or night, it's up to you. Xi Jialuan said, all right, let's go back. Those who need to rest, rest. Those who need to cultivate, cultivate. Jean Dias said, a Feng, do you want us to accompany you? Lei Xingfeng waved his hand. No need, no need. You guys go back and rest. This thing was too important. He didn't want anyone to join in. Jean Dia nodded. All right, let's go back. Lei Xingfeng spent the entire night in the great stone quarry. It wasn't until dawn that he returned to the stone platform to rest. He set up a huge piece of animal skin and lay down to sleep. That night, he received 3 stone eggs. All of them glowed with silver light. Feng Qinzong didn't bother with Lei Xingfeng. He continued to search for the sky crystal during the day. Mad Eagle didn't follow. Instead, he stayed by Lei Xingfeng's side to guard him. After all, Lei Xingfeng was the master. When he was resting, it was necessary to have a guard. Lei Xingfeng slept until evening. Only then did he get up. He took out some dry food and water and hurriedly ate. Lei Xingfeng said, Uncle Ling, what do you think about finding the sky crystal? Mad Eagle smiled bitterly. I gave up on the first day. It's impossible to find the sky crystal. Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, if it's purely luck, there's basically no hope. However, this is very important to eldest senior brother. We still have to persevere and look for it. In fact, he had already made up his mind. As long as there were silver glowing stone eggs, he would open one at the end. If he succeeded, he would give one to Feng Qinzong. He believed that Feng Qinzong wouldn't mistreat him. When Feng Qinzong and the others returned, Lei Xingfeng and Mad Eagle continued their search. Of course, the two of them split up. This time, Lei Xingfeng flew a bit further. In order not to disturb Feng Qinzong and the others' rest, he flew a few kilometers away. First, he searched the air to see if there were any abnormalities on the ground. If there were, he would go down and pick them up. If there weren't, he would start bombarding the ground to blast the stone eggs out of the ground. Now that Lei Xingfeng was more experienced, he only used half of his strength to blast out the chaos wheel. Moreover, he blasted out diagonally. This was the best way to blast the stone eggs out of the ground. After each blast, he stared at the stone eggs that flew out to see if there was any light. Every 10 minutes or so, Lei Xingfeng would blast out a blast. That night, Lei Xingfeng's luck wasn't very good. He only found 1 stone egg that glowed silver. Even so, he was very satisfied. Last attack. Let's go back to sleep after this. Lei Xingfeng blasted out one last blast. Boom! The stone eggs flew out in a fan shape. In an instant, a golden light flashed in front of Lei Xingfeng's eyes. He jumped in fright. There was actually a golden light. With a thought, he flashed out. Before the stone could fall, Lei Xingfeng had already caught it in his hand. It was a rare pure black stone egg. Upon closer inspection, there were very small golden spots on the stone egg, emitting a very faint golden light. Lei Xingfeng didn't know what to do. Because he didn't open the stone egg to see what was inside. He didn't know what was inside the stone egg. As for the stone egg that glowed silver, he didn't know what was inside. He didn't dare to open the stone egg. There was a reason why he didn't dare to open the stone egg. Sky crystals had a special characteristic. Once the stone egg was opened and the crystal inside was revealed, there would be a fluctuation. This fluctuation was very obvious. Within a radius of 10,000 meters, any high-level cultivator would be able to sense it. This was also why Feng Qinzong was at ease to bring everyone here to look for sky crystals. It was impossible to put all the stone eggs into the hidden Luin space because that would be useless. Basically, there was a 9,999% chance of getting all the eggs. In other words, the probability was infinitely close to 0. Therefore, coming here to look for sky crystals was a matter of luck. Lei Xingfeng thought for a moment and put the stone egg into the hidden Luin space. As long as he didn't open it, there wouldn't be any problems. No one would know that he had collected a special stone egg. This was a mistake. Using this loophole, no matter how many sky crystals Lei Xingfeng collected, no one would know. In just 2 days, he had already collected 4 glowing silver and 1 glowing gold. According to Lei Xingfeng's understanding, there was definitely something inside. The only thing he wasn't sure about was whether or not there was a sky crystal inside. Of course, he wasn't stupid enough to open it immediately. After another round of searching, Lei Xingfeng returned to the stone platform to rest. After being busy for more than 10 days, Lei Xingfeng more or less had a harvest every day. At least in one night, he found one glowing silver stone egg. At most, he found 3 stone eggs. In total, he had found 30. Most of them were glowing silver, but there were also 5 glowing gold. This made Lei Xingfeng very satisfied. Most of the harvest was from the lower layers of the stone eggs. There was almost none on the surface. Feng Qinzong and the others were different from Lei Xingfeng. They searched on the surface because there were too many stone eggs. According to their thinking, instead of searching the lower layers, they might as well pick them up casually. There shouldn't be a big difference. However, they forgot one thing. Stone eggs that contained sky crystals were relatively heavier. The lower layers of the stone eggs had a higher chance of containing sky crystals. However, even if Feng Qinzong and the others opened the lower layers of the stone eggs, it would still be difficult for them to find anything. Lei Xingfeng had dug at least a few hundred holes in one night, and he could only find 1 or 3 stone eggs that had a chance of producing a sky crystal. They were searching blindly, and it was impossible for them to catch even one. As time passed, cultivators could be seen flying in the sky above the great stone fields. In other words, the news of sky crystals in the great stone fields should have spread. Feng Qinzong and the others also began to feel a little nervous. As long as anyone found a sky crystal, it meant a bloody massacre. Even if you put the sky crystal into your hidden luin space, you would still be captured and forced to rob the sky crystal under the threat of death. This required great strength to resist the robberies of outsiders. Feng Qinzong gathered everyone and said, "There are more and more outsiders. This place will soon become a killing field. Even if we don't find the sky crystal, there will still be conflicts in this damned place. Don't split up to avoid being attacked separately. Let's move together. Feng, don't move at night. Come with us during the day." Lei Xingfeng didn't have a choice. He couldn't say that he could only find it at night. He nodded and said, "Okay." At this time, he couldn't show the slightest bit of greed. On the 3rd day, the killings began. As more and more outsiders came, the killings also increased. Most of these people had 5 or 6 companions. The smaller ones had 2 or 3 people, and the larger ones had 10. Feng Qinzong's group was considered large. Normal people wouldn't dare to provoke them. Other than Lei Xingfeng, everyone else was a 9th ring sage. The weakest cultivators here had 6th ring sage bodies, but most of them were 8th and 9th ring sages. Lei Xingfeng didn't know that there were so many high-level cultivators here. Soon, their field of vision was filled with cultivators. They formed groups and ran around the great stone fields. Feng Qinzong finally stopped everyone from searching. He said, "Let's wait. The more people there are, the more likely we will find the sky crystal. At that time, we will fight for it." He had completely given up on finding the sky crystal by himself. Xi and Jiaoluan said, "Let's go back to the stone platform to wait and prepare." Feng Qinzong nodded. "Okay, let's go back." The group flew towards the stone platform. But when they got close, they found that there was already a group of people occupying it. Lei Xingfeng inexplicably felt a surge of anger. "This is our territory." This thought suddenly popped up in his mind. And when he saw that his group's faces all changed, he suddenly had the urge to beat them up. Feng Qinzong and Xi and Jiaoluan landed first. Feng Qinzong had just landed when he roared, "Scram!" That monstrous aura crazily surged out, crushing everything in its path. This was the first time Lei Xingfeng had seen Feng Qinzong's aura, and he was shocked. Even the people behind him were suppressed by this powerful aura. Lei Xingfeng thought to himself that Feng Qinzong's strength was close to that of a monarch. There was no explanation. Just one word, scram. Domineering and unreasonable to the extreme, immediately intimidating the group. It wasn't until everyone landed that the group finally reacted. Lei Xingfeng landed. With just one glance, he was furious. This group of people were all wearing masks. The masked men. This was Lei Xingfeng's enemy. In the past, they had chased after him nonstop. This time, he actually met them again. There was probably a monarch behind the masked men organization. But who cared? Lei Xingfeng also had a monarch behind him. Without waiting for the group to reply, Lei Xingfeng had already launched an attack. The chaos wheel shot out. Feng Qinzong and Xian Jiaoluan didn't expect Lei Xingfeng to be the first to attack. Feng Qinzong's eyes flashed with admiration. He roared, "Kill!" Boom! With one attack, the masked men were forced to retreat. After that, Lei Xingfeng had nothing to do. After all, his strength couldn't compare to a ninth ring expert. When Feng Qinzong and the other ninth ring experts attacked together, Lei Xingfeng found that he couldn't do anything. He could only retreat to the side and watch the show. Lei Xingfeng's eyes widened as he watched. He found that the strength of the two sides was completely different. Feng Qinzong and the other strength was absolutely crushing. There were 7 masked men in total. Among them, only 5 were ninth ring experts. The other 2 were 8th ring experts. If this kind of strength was in Lei Xingfeng's world, they would be at the top. Here, however, it wasn't enough. On the other hand, there were 11 ninth ring experts. The attacks of these 11 people instantly crushed their resistance. Flesh and blood flew everywhere. Chapter 204. The scariest thing about a group of 11 ninth ring sages was that they didn't hesitate to kill. They used every trick they could think of to kill. The result of 11 ninth ring sages attacking with all their might was the 7 masked men. Without exception, all of them died without a complete corpse. Lei Xingfeng watched with his mouth agape. Holy shit, how can they be so cruel? The sight of blood excited everyone. A few of them were eager to attack the people around them. Fortunately, Feng Qinzong's cultivation was profound. He shouted, "Stop! Calm down!" His shout shocked everyone. They immediately stopped. Feng Qinzong said, "This place is very evil. Once you start killing, you'll get excited. If you don't stop at the beginning, you'll go around looking for people to kill until you're destroyed. All right, stop cultivating now." Xian Jiaoluan said, "Holy shit, this place is really evil. I actually wanted to kill." Feng Qinzong was the eldest senior brother. He could suppress everyone. No one dared to be stubborn with him. If it weren't for Feng Qinzong, everyone would have gone to find people to kill. Lei Xingfeng couldn't help but sweat. He was the one who attacked first. Feng Qinzong came over and asked, Feng, do you know them?" Lei Xingfeng said, "No, but they're my enemies." Feng Qinzong thought for a moment. "Is it because they're wearing masks?" Lei Xingfeng nodded. "Yes, they're probably from the same organization. They all wear masks and have been chasing me for a while." Haha, so when I saw them, I didn't know why I suddenly attacked. Feng Qinzong nodded. "No wonder you attacked. All right, I know the reason. Let's rest." Lei Xingfeng nodded and sat down. Jean Dia sat beside him and said with a smile, Feng, your attack just now gave me a fright. I realize that your attack is very powerful. If your cultivation is higher, no one in the same level as you will be able to defeat you." Mad Eagle and Tiger Love also sat beside him. Mad Eagle said, "I don't think we'll get anything from this trip. I didn't expect there to be such a crazy thing. Sky Crystal, even if I only had a 10% chance of advancing, with the Sky Crystal, I have a 50% chance. It's a 50-50 chance, so I have to give it a shot no matter what. Unfortunately, Sky Crystal is too hard to come by." Xian said, "Old Eagle, don't joke around. How do you even have a 10% chance of advancing?" Mad Eagle could only smile bitterly. He said, I know I don't have one. For those of us who use rings to advance, let alone a 10% chance, I don't even have a 1% chance. Sigh, what a pity." Tiger Love said, "Pity my ass. If you didn't have rings, you wouldn't have been able to advance to 9th ring. What's there to pity? I'm already satisfied to be able to advance to 9th ring." Mad Eagle said, I know. But when I hear this news, I'm still a little moved." Jean Dia laughed. "Don't think about it. Otherwise, you won't be able to survive. I just hope to live a little longer." Haha, as for advancing, that's just wishful thinking. Forget about it. In this group, only Feng Qinzong, Xan Zhaoluan, and Lei Xingfeng had a chance of advancing to Monarch. It was just a possibility. Of course, if they could obtain the sky crystal this time, whether it was Feng Qinzong or Xan Zhaoluan, their chances of advancing would greatly increase. If they only had a 20 or 30% chance of advancing, then with a 40% chance, their chances of advancing would be completely different. Lei Xingfeng said, "Is there only one type of sky crystal?" He had been thinking about the two types of stone eggs in his heart. One was silver, the other was gold. He felt like there was something wrong with them. Feng Qinzong was sitting not far away. When he heard Lei Xingfeng's words, he said, Feng, let me tell you." Lei Xingfeng said happily, "Thank you for your guidance, senior apprentice brother." Feng Qinzong got up and sat down. Xi and Zhaoluan also sat down. Feng Qinzong said, "Dijuan liquid crystal, also known as sky crystal or Saint crystal. Generally speaking, cultivators like to call it sky crystal. This thing is used to break through the 9th ring sage realm and advance to monarch realm. With a sky crystal, the success rate can be increased by 40%. Lei Xingfeng nodded. This was something everyone already knew. Feng Qinzong said, "Actually, there are two types of sky crystal. The first type is sky crystal. There is a trace of silver liquid in the crystal. It is this trace of natural liquid that can increase a 9th ring sage's chances of advancing by 40%. Lei Xingfeng had only seen the grooves in the stone eggs. He thought, so the so-called crystal has a trace of silver liquid in it. It is the liquid inside that can increase the chances of advancing, not the crystal itself. Interesting. Feng Qinzong continued. There is another type of sky crystal. To be precise, it should be called Saint crystal. The liquid inside is not silver, but gold. The chance of advancing is not 40%, but 60%. Let's put it this way. If I have a sky crystal, I have a high chance of advancing. But if I have a Saint crystal, I can definitely advance to monarch realm." Mad Eagle asked, 60%. If we get it, does that mean we have a chance of advancing to monarch realm?" Feng Qinzong said, "Yes. 50% chance of advancing." Mad Eagle clutched his chest and said, "Mother of Asterisker, please give me a Saint crystal." Where can I get a Saint crystal?" Feng Qinzong laughed. "Don't even think about it. Even I haven't seen it before. I've only heard of it. I've seen a sky crystal before, but the silver liquid inside has been removed. Other than the silver liquid inside, the crystal itself is also an extremely rare material." Not only was Mad Eagle in a daze, but even Jean Dia and the other 9th ring swordsmen were also thinking about how to get a Saint crystal. Lei Xingfeng said, "Then the liquid inside the Saint crystal is gold liquid?" After saying it, he felt awkward. Silver liquid? Gold liquid? That sounded weird. Feng Qinzong nodded. "That's right. But Saint crystals are even harder to find. If there's a chance of getting a sky crystal, then Saint crystals are a thing of legends." Xi and Feng understood that the glowing silver stone egg and the glowing gold stone egg were probably the heaven crystal and Saint crystal. His heart couldn't help but burn, but he was very clear that these two things, when he returned, he might be able to take out the heaven crystal, but he definitely couldn't take out the Saint crystal. This thing attracted too much attention. Even if it was from the same sect, it was still a source of trouble, so he became even more careful. Of the 27 stone eggs, 21 were silver and 5 were gold. Lei Xingfeng kept muttering in his heart, 21 sky crystals, 5 Saint crystals. Mother of Asterisker, I'm rich. This place is getting more and more chaotic. I better find a way to leave. He already wanted to escape. It was too dangerous to stay here. Jean Dia sighed. I'm sure there should be sky crystals here, and even Saint crystals. But there's so many stone eggs. How can we find them? Sigh. We're in a treasure trove, but we can't get anything. It's so annoying. Mad Eagle said, "It's not just annoying. I want to kill people." Explosions and battle cries came from the distance. Lei Xingfeng looked at the rising smoke and said, "I don't know how many people will die this time. Even if thousands of people came in, there might be one lucky person if they just picked up the sky crystals. But once the battle started, it was almost certain that such a lucky person wouldn't exist. Gradually, the smell of blood wafted over. Lei Xingfeng couldn't help but shake his head. It's over. This place will probably become a bloody slaughterhouse. Feng Qinzong's face was ugly. He knew that it would be very difficult for him to get the sky crystals. Once this place became chaotic and all the sects suffered heavy losses, the monarch would seal the sects and not let his subordinates enter. Even his master would do the same. It was easy to lose one's mind in this place. They could still control their killing intent now, mainly because of his suppression. Once they lost his suppression, they would have already rushed out to kill. Xi and Jiaoluan seemed to have sensed that something was wrong. He said, "Don't move. If someone comes, we have to kill them as soon as possible. Otherwise, we won't be able to control ourselves." Lei Xingfeng also felt that something was wrong with him. The desire to kill kept popping up, making his blood boil. Lei Xingfeng stood up, then sat down again. He felt a little restless. Feng Qinzong smiled bitterly. Damn, it's getting more and more wrong. When there was no one here, it was fine. Now that there are so many people, it feels wrong. Suddenly, a ninth ring sage flew over. When he was still 100 meters away from the stone platform, Feng Qinzong already stood up and shouted, "Get away!" The man sneered and sent out his fire seal, attacking the people on the stone platform. Feng Qinzong said, "You're looking for death." A golden blade suddenly appeared. When it first appeared, it was only a little bit of golden light. Then, it suddenly expanded to the size of a door. This was Feng Qinzong's personal weapon. The giant blade slashed down instantly, causing a loud rumble. That person's fire seal was instantly shattered by the golden saber. That person howled in grief. For a cultivator, the seal was a very important cultivation crystal. Once it was shattered, it would immediately cause a heavy injury. The golden saber paused for a moment, then immediately chopped down again. One slash split the man in half. Feng Qinzong gritted his teeth and put away the golden blade. He stared at the battle in the distance. Xi and Jiaoluan shouted, "Eldest senior brother." Feng Qinzong let out a long breath and slowly landed. Lei Xingfeng could clearly see Feng Qinzong struggle. Luckily, his cultivation was too high. He finally woke up and said, "This place is too evil. Damn, I almost couldn't control myself. So close, so close." Lei Xingfeng said, "Should we go back?" He asked tentatively. Feng Qinzong said firmly, "No, wait." Chapter 205. Lei Xingfeng sighed inwardly. He didn't dare to say, "I've got the sky crystal, and I'll give it to you when we get back." As more and more people were killed, Feng Qinzong and the others couldn't sit still any longer. They all stood on the stone platform, forming a defensive circle. Any enlightened masters that charged at them were immediately killed. Every enlightened master that was killed had bloodshot eyes as they ran around like madmen. Lei Xingfeng's heart was pounding. A seventh ring sage was nothing here. Even if he could block a few attacks from a ninth ring sage, he wouldn't be able to block too many of them. Plus, if a fight broke out here, they might end up killing each other. But the killing intent in his heart surged wave after wave. Xi and Feng tried his best to control it. Luckily, the cold pearl on his chest had a great effect. The cool feeling calmed him down. Seeing that Feng Qinzong was losing control, Lei Xingfeng took out a frost pearl. He got two last time. He threw it to Feng Qinzong. "Big senior brother, hang it around your neck." Feng Qinzong grabbed it. Frost pearl. The cold chi spread out, clearing his mind. He immediately understood Lei Xingfeng's intention. Okay. With the help of the frost pearl, his urge to kill quickly disappeared. However, the struggle in the eyes of the other 6 ninth ring masters became more and more intense. Xi and Jiaoluan took off the frost pearl from his neck and tossed it to them. Everyone calmed down. The frost pearl passed to the 6 ninth ring masters, and after a while, they all calmed down. Jean Dia laughed. "I didn't know the frost pearl could be used like this. If I knew, I would have killed more Zesh ice beasts." Lei Xingfeng didn't understand. This place is huge. Why are there so many people gathered here? Feng Qinzong said, "This is the core area. It said that sky crystals are most likely to be found here. Other places are not. Boom! In the distance, two people faced each other. A golden seal struck, sending stone eggs flying. Suddenly, there was a violent fluctuation. This fluctuation was very strange. Everyone could feel it. It was like an echo in the canyon. Everyone could clearly hear it, but they didn't necessarily know where it came from. Feng Shenzong was overjoyed. The sky crystal is out. Lei Xingfeng suddenly reacted. Countless stone eggs had shattered during the battle, and one of them had coincidentally contained a heaven crystal. That was why it had caused such a fluctuation. This was the first time he had felt such a fluctuation. It was a very strange feeling, but he would definitely not miss it. As soon as this fluctuation appeared, the entire Great Stone Quarry was in chaos. Countless people flew towards the place where the two people were fighting. Feng Qinzong shouted, "Let's go." Lei Xingfeng secretly complained. He didn't want to fight for it at all. At this time, he completely understood why it was called the slaughter field. The two people who were still fighting immediately stopped and began to search. However, the fluctuation from the countless stone eggs on the ground was very strong at first, but after the fluctuation, it disappeared. They could only remember the approximate location, but with the fierce battle just now, it was very difficult to determine. Feng Qinzong was the fastest. He was almost the first to reach the two. He had been paying attention to the battle around him. So when the fluctuation appeared, he immediately determined the approximate location. It wasn't where the two were fighting, but about 60 to 70 meters away. When the two saw Feng Qinzong approaching, they immediately warned him, "Get out. Get away. Don't come near." Feng Qinzong didn't care at all. He went to the place he thought it was and landed. In an instant, all the stone eggs within a radius of 6 to 7 meters disappeared. Lei Xingfeng had been pulling Jean Dia and Mad Eagle. At the same time, he signaled Tiger Love to slow down and fall behind the others. At this time, Lei Xingfeng saw Feng Qinzong's actions and couldn't help but praise him. This was truly a smart move. He didn't even need to search carefully. Instead, he directly put everything in the location of the fluctuation into his hidden Lun space. He would slowly clean it up when he returned. In just a few breaths, the ground within a radius of 10 meters caved in. With Feng Qinzong's methods, he directly collected a large area. The two who were fighting were instantly enraged. This was a place where the slightest thought could cause a huge explosion. The result of their anger was that the two joined forces to attack Feng Qinzong. Feng Qinzong was extremely satisfied. He knew he had succeeded. With so many stone eggs and random things entering his hidden Lun space, he would need to mobilize a lot of people to help clean it up. But he knew one thing. With so many things entering his hidden Lun space, there must be a sky crystal in there. He just needed to slowly find it. Seeing the two charging over with red eyes, he sneered. A golden light appeared, and he roared, "Kill!" Xi and Jiaolin was on the other side and attacked at the same time. The two of them had an unusual tacit understanding. The other 6 ninth ring sages also attacked together. In an instant, the attacks of the 8 experts converged. The two had long been blinded by anger and rushed forward without thinking. They were immediately hit by the attacks of the 8. Boom! Lei Xingfeng fell behind. Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love immediately raised their defenses. Countless stone eggs flew in all directions. A cloud of dust rose, and the two were instantly pulverized. Not even a bit of flesh could be seen. What a joke. 8 ninth ring sages attacked at full power. These two weren't monarchs. How could they block it? Feng Qinzong shouted, "Let's go." If they didn't run now, when would they? Feng Qinzong was very wise. Since they had succeeded, this place wasn't a place to stay. The 12 of them immediately flew away, but it was difficult to escape. Seeing groups of cultivators flying over, Lei Xingfeng felt his scalp go numb. He said, "Uncle Jean, Uncle Ling, Uncle Tiger, let's try not to split up. Be careful and defend." No one was an idiot. That wave of energy alerted all the cultivators within a kilometer radius. They all knew that something good had appeared. Perhaps it was the legendary sky crystal. Therefore, they all subconsciously rushed over. Unknowingly, they blocked Feng Qinzong's group. They had nowhere to run. Xi and Zhaoluan said, "Have you sent a message to Master?" Feng Qinzong said, "I've already sent word, but we need to hold on for a while." Xi and Zhaoluan said, "That's going to be tough. Everyone, pay attention. Don't spread out. Once you're left alone, I don't need to remind you of the consequences." Everyone's heart trembled. Being left alone meant death. There was no doubt about it. Everyone knew that. The 12 of them formed a defensive formation and flew out. After flying for less than 5 minutes, they were blocked by a group of 7. Feng Qinzong didn't want to waste time talking. He only shouted, "Kill! Kill them all!" Xi and Zhaoluan said, "As long as we can hold on for a while, Master will come." Immediately, everyone's confidence increased. If Master came, not only would his strength increase, but he would also be able to take everyone away. In an instant, the 12 of them fought against the 7. At this time, even Lei Xingfeng went all out. He had the Chaos Wheel, so his attack power wasn't weak at all. If it weren't for the fact that he was only a 7th ring sage, he would be the main force. Now that he was mixed in with the crowd, he could only count as an ordinary 9th ring sage. His defense wasn't as strong as a 9th ring sage's, so he had to rely on the help of 3 guards. The 7 people blocking the way all had red eyes. They couldn't control their killing intent. That was why they dared to block a group of 11 9th ring sages. Among the 7 of them, there were only 2 9th ring sages. Among the other 5, there were 2 8th ring sages, 1 7th ring, and 2 6th ring sages. If such a group were conscious, how could they dare to block a group of super experts? Lei Xingfeng's Chaos Wheel was the fastest, and his attack was also the fastest. Before the others could attack, his Chaos Wheel had already shot out. The result of this attack was brilliant. The main reason was that Lei Xingfeng didn't expect there to be a 6th ring or 8th ring sages in the group. That was why this attack was so effective, instantly killing 2 and seriously injuring the other 2. Lei Xingfeng's first attack was followed by everyone else's combined attack. It was too fast. With a loud bang, the smoke disappeared, leaving nothing behind. Lei Xingfeng sucked in a breath of cold air. How strong did the attack have to be to kill so many people in an instant? The aftermath of the attack left a large hole in the ground. This hole was more than 200 meters in diameter and dozens of meters deep. Even so, there was still a stone egg at the bottom. Lei Xingfeng actually saw the stone egg glowing with a silver light, but at this time, he couldn't go down to pick it up. Because of the dim light at the bottom of the hole, the glowing stone egg was very obvious. Lei Xingfeng sighed and rushed out with Feng Qinzong. It didn't matter if there were 7 people blocking the way or 1 person. Feng Qinzong and the others used the same move and combined their attacks. It was true that if a person blocked their way, they would kill a god. No one could stop them. As they moved towards the edge of the great stone field, the people blocking the way gradually decreased, and the people chasing after them started killing each other again. After killing another 10 people in a row, Feng Qinzong's group was finally safe. Those who didn't give up chasing were all killed. Lei Xingfeng admired Feng Qinzong. This guy killed decisively without any resistance. Lei Xingfeng knew that if they were blocked on the way, it wouldn't take long. Within 10 minutes, they would be in a desperate situation with no chance of survival. This was the benefit of having a brilliant commander. The ground was also full of stone eggs, but Lei Xingfeng found that the stone eggs here were very large and rough. The sizes were also different. He even saw stone eggs the size of a water tank, but they were generally the size of an ostrich egg. The surface of the stone eggs wasn't smooth. He bent down and picked up a stone egg to play with. Feng Qinzong said, "Don't look at it. There won't be sky crystals here." Lei Xingfeng asked curiously, "Senior brother, how do you know?" Feng Qinzong said, "I've been looking for sky crystals for 17 years, and I've also been investigating for 17 years. Haha, if you say I don't know, who knows?" Lei Xingfeng nodded. "That's true. But this news was released by Senior Brother, right? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.